Hello everyone, welcome to the LightBringers podcast, where we're going to go and kill some things. Bosses, world bosses. Jungle Worm has been redone as well. Hope you're all good, hope you're all well. Welcome to the stream as well. Great Jungle Worm is up right now. New things, hopefully. Yeah, it's the event before, isn't it? Good. We're not late. Okay, good. We're not
all
early.
right. Pre-event.
Ready? Ooh. Just gotta make sure I've got the volume in the right place as well.
Where did Kroof go?
Kroof is dead.
Kroof is like,
I'm playing in my phone.
Bye. See ya. We had to, for once, actually like make sure that we started at a specific exact time, because this world boss isn't waiting for anyone.
Nope.
We did it.
Whoa,
We did.
it's so big!
Oh,
look at
wow.
this new model. The details are gorgeous.
Yeah, that is huge. Wait, who was that?
Me, sorry.
That was amazing.
Who was that?
That was a great
It
first
could have
year.
been any three of you.
True.
It curled
Well,
around and
haven't
I got
seen
this
it.
look into like its maw and all the details inside of there and the like color gradient just I had to make I had an excited noise. It's just
It
very
looks
good.
Very good. Yeah, it really does. That is such a difference because it was a lot smaller. It was about at least like a third of the size, maybe.
I don't think I actually
they're
did this one
saying-
before.
Fake chains.
Stop the summoned husks or the ritual husks before they reach.
This is not new, so if you're coming in for the first time today and you've not, I'm gonna die apparently. They basically reskinned this. This is one of the bosses, one of the world bosses. They're reskinned 4. They're probably gonna do more, I would say, but they're trying to basically update the base game, core game, so that peeps come in and they're equally as impressed as they were when world bosses came in. Because when people first played Guild Wars 2, the one thing that people always commented on, and the one thing that I massively got into, was the fact that, you know, there's these big massive monsters that you're all kind of getting together to kill, you know. So that was,
I think
that makes sense that they would update that, right?
I think they also, now I don't know the full extent yet because this is my first time doing this with all of you live today, which is exciting and I'm so happy about, but they also supposedly reworked some of the telegraphs markers and some of the mechanics or like phases to sort of make these more in line with current design mentality in the game. But I'm not sure what like the extent of those changes are on each of these individually.
These
One of the new ones
AoEs.
that we actually have to do right now is destroy these husks. This is a new mechanic where you have to go and specifically break their break bar first and then destroy them. So this mechanic is trying to teach players early on to break bars. And it actually gets progressively more dangerous because more of them get summoned, so the players have to split.
Oh,
So this
that's
fight is
awesome.
really, really fun.
See. That one got CC,
The
then
poison
kill.
zones do so much more damage and apply so many more conditions, so Condi Cleanse is actually useful even in early game.
I am
Nice.
feeling that right now. These fears and then all the like stacking stuff as you get driven into these puddles. Yeah, you can definitely sense that.
Before it was
So
just a
I'm-
cakewalk, literally.
So I'm guessing that the thing you're talking about, Kroof, about like having to get rid of those husks, they get highlighted because of like the orange swords, so we know we have to go for them next.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
And the Great Jungle Worm will be invulnerable during that period, so it really just forces everyone to go and divert their attention to the various mobs that spawn.
And they don't, and this means actually, if you're going between world bosses, that things are a little bit more fluid. You're going to a boss, you're killing a boss, you're not sitting around waiting as well, because they just die really quick, right?
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and
used
it's
to.
like, it doesn't really feel like, you know, it didn't really feel like you were engaging. It just felt like you're kind of going around farming shit. Honestly,
And
wow,
a lot of the
just-
health has been updated as well to kind of address that as well, because oftentimes when high-level players went down to low-level zones, they were able to just really blast through it with ease.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
this is
sure.
very cool. I love this.
Much better.
It definitely feels more epic, and it does feel like there are more things that we're seeing here that like are going to be relevant down the road, or that, you know, different classes have a chance to actually use something in their kit that, you know, could be helpful.
Oh, that one almost
Yeah,
got
those
in,
husks, 2 of them got really close.
Yeah.
Oh, so then it starts eating it. Does it get like powered?
I think
Heals,
it heals.
I think.
Probably
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm really glad that they made it invulnerable during that phase as well, so that it's not just like ignore it and do more damage to it than than it'll do, you know?
And it'll be nice when you realize, oh wait, I'm not doing damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the new model also is super crisp. The detail with the scales and the little thorns and even like the mouth of the worm, it's so good.
I love this music.
Oh yeah, those poison zones are no joke.
They're mean. People are just going down.
And I think the ads are much more plentiful, and sometimes they would like immobilize me. And I think one time when I was doing this earlier this week, I got immobed in a poison field, and it was not fun.
Yeah, I had that happen earlier, but it gives you a great opportunity. I mean, I'm assuming you can use, you know, your own, you know, like breakout and mobility things for that. So it gives you a good opportunity to have an idea of like how you break those kinds of stuns or mobs, or to even like look for something in your kit that might solve that problem if you're a new player and you keep going like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah, things like Condi Cleanse, Resistance are going to be like really important in this fight as well.
Ooh.
So you don't get a lot of resistance for the game.
What about rewards? What were they upped?
Yes.
I just got 4 champ bags. No, is it? Well, I don't even know if that's champ bags. They're orange. They're champ bags.
Adventure backpack?
They have given you a additional champ bag to compensate and just increase the overall rewards for higher level players coming back and playing this content.
Nice. There's some tier 6 rewards. Cool.
It also like
there.
it reminds me of raids from other games. Like if a new player has played other MMOs and they're just like in like the Stirring World and people saying world boss, and it felt like I was in a raid. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That is good. We at 12:45. Well, in 20 minutes is the Shadow Behemoth, which is the other new one as well, and then we've got quite a while till Fire Elemental. But we can just keep going round, or we can just go there and have a discussion before we encounter the boss. I don't mind what we do. Let me just see what the wild boss portal type thingy-majig is saying. Oh, there is. Oh, the thingy in Harathi.
Is there a level limit, like a minimum level? Because I can definitely try and level some other characters right now.
For all of the 4 starter bosses, you could go on those characters and level them up. For any of the other bosses, if we go and do those, they tend to be a little bit higher level in like the 40s and up type stuff.
Okay, Harathi boss is up. Will be the next one probably. It really depends if you want to go to the Behemoth and see about maybe the startup event. We could also do that. Well, I think we can probably do this. This one needs a good update. Although it's just a centaur, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, the elemental hands.
Actually, the elemental, yeah, potentially.
I was actually a little bit surprised that they didn't redo this one. I think maybe because it does still feel like, at least when I've run it, even though it goes pretty smoothly at this point, that area does still feel pretty dangerous. Like, there is still like kind of the multi-phase thing that you do with it and like all the enemies around that area, and then of course the like big fight at the end. So I don't know if it maybe needed the update as much as the others, but I was surprised they didn't try to maybe up the spectacle of that one just a little bit, because when we were talking about the the shaman that had his rework as well, and everybody was like, oh yeah, he was just like a dude, just like a guy. It doesn't really feel just like a dude guy bro. It doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, this is a huge epic world boss. And of course the elemental that gets summoned at the end of that chain in Harathi is pretty cool, but it does feel like they could give that a little bit more oomph to just make it, something that still like visually is really memorable overall.
Especially because the Harathi elemental hands and the centaur are also a part of the human starter instance when you're fighting the hands. And I love that we got updates to these 4 bosses, but I think, Jebro, you mentioned this as well at some point, of perhaps like an update to the first instance bosses could also be useful to increase the Telegraph, or just the variety of attacks to keep it a little bit more interesting, or buff the health a bit. But yeah, those elemental hands, I think it would get like a double benefit from updating the human starting experience and also the world boss itself.
Yeah, I agree, because I just recently did that starting boss. I was talking about this a little bit when we were chatting last week about, changes that could be made to the core game, or things that we could, we would like to see updated in addition to a lot of the updates that they are just already doing right now. And not that I think you should ever have like a boss in a starting area be a brutal, horrible, exhausting experience for new players, but you do want it to feel kind of epic. And I still felt, even now going into it, when I was doing the human story with that like I had barely even seen the elemental before it was dead, and there were like 3 of us attacking it. So it wasn't even as though it were I don't know, like there were like 50 of us or something, it was just a small handful of us, and then it was already gone, and I was like, oh, bye-bye.
It's like, well, that happened, I guess. That was
just
cool.
so powerful.
It was visually cool, but mechanically, I think visually they've really nailed down the first moment. But mechanically, it might have, over the years, kind of fallen behind a little bit. But I ultimately agree, you don't want it to be like crushing. But I think with the updates to modern gameplay design, with telegraphs and the variety of things like shockwaves, a defiance bar, slight condition and boon play styles, I think that could possibly be of interest as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great spot to do that, right? Like, theoretically, in the tutorial, in my mind, right, you should get each of those little basic fundamentals, kind of like that training area that we saw them add in with, End of Dragons, so that even if they're just telling you, like, here's your one ability, and then a little thing pops up and it's like, it does damage or this, or, here's your 2 ability, this one does CC. What is CC? Here's this, how you dodge. Like,
here's
having
an environmental
all of that,
weapon to use to break a break bar if you need it.
Having all of those in the tutorial, and then using that boss as a like little test of that, where you have to do those things in that fight, or like your companion that's there is like, remember how you dodged 5 minutes ago? Like, this is clearly how all the companions sound in the starting areas, and you're like, oh, I do, and then you dodge it, and then the boss becomes vulnerable again or something. Like, to me, it feels like that would be a better culminating. And at the time, I think the game was just designed, it was just different, right? Like, I think they had a lot more flexibility in maybe what they wanted to do. Some of those systems they didn't even necessarily think would be that relevant until much later. But now we understand that, like, a lot of those things are fundamental pieces of combat in this game and experiencing the world in this game, so.
Agreed.
It's very relevant. If you're not watching the video right now as well, you probably should be, just saying. And you're listening to this and you're on like something else and you're like, oh, what are they talking about? We're talking about world bosses. And I'm sorry. And welcome everyone. We have Glenn, myself, Rookery, and Kroof all here once again. Glenn has not been here for a good while, so welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Back, legend.
Yes, indeed. Good times. Good times. It's great to have you back. Glenn's been playing a lot. Recently. You've been playing a lot. You've been playing it. What has kind of pulled you back in, and how do you feel about seeing that? Like you said, you were saying, it's pretty epic. It felt like you were in a raid and whatnot. Like how do those moments in the game help keep you engaged, and how important are they as you go about your leveling experience? That's always interesting. I think it's a very valid. It's kind of not saying I don't want boots here, but actually it's probably quite good. Like, it's kind of relevant. Like, it's quite good UI here, honestly.
A happy accident, let's call that.
Happy accident. There you go. We miss boots, of course. Boots is legendary. But yeah,
I'm trying to think why I even booted up Guild Wars 2 again. I think it might have been Rook. Rook really is that person that will just
force you to do things. Yeah,
exactly. And then she'll relish it. She'll relish the manipulation. No, but I'm kidding.
My devious dark side.
The gatekeeping, the girl bomb.
I bully you into playing the games that I love and then make you love them too.
What you don't know about Rook. No, but it's funny. I came back. I think the reason why I stopped playing was, so I was getting really excited about I got my first character level. It was a thief, and literally, it's funny how everyone was like, "Oh, thief is your first class? That's great." Just very reluctant, and I was like, "Oh, let me get Jedi," because I really do like bows, guns. Like I really do like that type of like feel. But when I got to level 80, there was just so much to learn when it comes to like gearing. The huge change from like Corteria to like everywhere else, like Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. And I didn't know about the hero points and how I needed more than just like 7 to get like kind of the core. So it just was very overwhelming. So I had to stop. And then I came back. I picked up a mount, I picked up the raptor, and then just going around the world was so beautiful. I remember why I loved exploring, and then slowly but surely, like luckily with the help of like the community, I was able to learn things at a slower pace, and that just started to click because then the thing that really clicked for me was just the open world and the meta events. The amount of people that just like come in together to do like one thing, I was like, oh, wait, this is actually an MMO, and I've been hooked ever since.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
I
So
love
I was
that.
like well into killing the boss then, but then I was like, yeah,
he
there's
died
such
within like the first minute.
there's such a difference. There's such a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, the other fight
Yeah.
went by still pretty quick, right? Because so we just did the revamped worm, the jungle worm, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like it took 1,000 years to do or anything, which is fine because a lot of people do these on rotation and they have this like world boss timer that kind of paces everything out, right? But at the same time, like the distinctive phases, the mechanics that we could see, the things where they had adjusted them to, make it so that we had to still have those phases with the invuln, all of those different things like the cleanse or, other stuff that we were pointing out, break bar usage. I think all of that makes it a little bit more memorable in that sense, right? Because like this one is kind of one huge blur where you just throw yourself at anything wherever it is and then just hit it and then it's dead.
Yeah. And I think the power level, it also might come down to how the leveling scaling works, where it's maybe not as appropriate at this point because of just the power creep in general. But yeah, I think world bosses are so much fun, and the ones that they have updated, those phase changes in particular, even though we're still able to get through them fairly quickly, they make the fight feel a bit longer because you actually have to go and do something else, especially when you make the boss invulnerable during that period of time. And just visually their size is like more of like, oh, they're able to be seen. So I agree Rook.
Yeah, but Glenn, I honestly love what you were saying about the fact that these like discovering these and finding these in the open world was a huge hook for you, because I definitely felt the same way in that this was something that early on, at least, you get introduced to in Guild Wars 2, like long before you ever really are doing anything like fractals, long before you are ever realizing that strike missions are a thing, or that raids happen, or, that legendaries or something. These are something that you are likely to encounter just like out on the maps in your own exploration, or to have somebody tell you about. And to get your first really big rewards and to see your first like big group effort in the game. And I fell in love with them too because there are so few other MMOs that do map events to this scale, or that like include this sort of thing with world bosses and meta events to this degree with this level of importance that's on par with other content in the game. And I love it. So the fact that they went back and decided to like touch these up a little bit was such a good move, and I honestly hadn't even really thought about them doing it per se, except for maybe a few cases where I was like, maybe they should give it some more health or something. But like the fact that they went in and did this, I think really was them thinking ahead so much with all the other changes that we've seen, because this is a huge part of the new player experience and something that I think really does leave a big impression on new players in the like core game itself.
No, seriously, like I know that's what hooked me, because a lot of MMOs now, it feels like when you're leveling, it feels like you're leveling alone. And then when you get to end game content, depending on like the type of content you're into, a lot of people just like to do like whatever the dungeon or like the raid scene is, and it's very much just like queuing, and so it just becomes like you wait on a queue.
Instance-based community.
Exactly, yeah, with instance based. And then with Guild Wars 2, like I'm level 80, but I'm just enjoying going to like this map to do this event, going here to try out this class, going out here to do this, and it just feels like there's so much more variety in like just in what would be mundane in other games, which I feel like for me it feels fresher.
Yeah.
Hey, how can this person have their boat out? Sorry. What the that is not fair.
Someone popped down a skiff in the swamp.
How?
That's
Wait,
a
what?
swampy skiff.
You can't even do that. Oh, I know why.
Where there's a will,
It's
there's a
the
way.
It's the gem one. It's because you bought it with gems. If you bought it with gems.
What?
That was
Wow,
a joke.
Why would that affect
There's
That was a
us?
joke.
power creep in the cash shop. Wow, power creep in the cash shop. Alert.
Legitimately confused me for a second. I was like, I don't think that gem shop skiffs have any bonus water they can go in. They're still just skiffs.
I'm still confused. Oh, a skiff.
If you pay gems or something, you literally can just do whatever you want it to do. That's it. That's it now. I actually really like that. They should definitely do that. Release really expensive skins for stuff. that
Really
people
expensive
come-
chairs that multiple people can sit on.
There is we've got a minute, okay? I feel like if people didn't hear us talk about the elephant in the room of the well, I don't know if I don't really care, honestly, to be fair, but
Yeah,
we'll talk about it
we haven't
anyway.
talked about it yet.
The skin for the I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up.
I was like, what elephant? Did something happen?
There's a massive elephant, but it's actually
Yeah,
a
it's a
small
cat.
with wings.
I guess it's a bit
What?
of news and or community discussion that has happened around this World Boss, the patch that came out with the World Boss
Yes.
update and the new content in Living Season 1, Episode 3. So there were some updates to the cash shop as well for anyone who doesn't know, and they did come out with the first Jade bot skin, which is this little cat, which is super cute, that is currently priced at, I think, 1,600 gems, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Which is okay. So there are two sides to this, right? There is always, if you think something is too expensive, you vote with your wallet. You always vote with your wallet. You don't buy it. You don't. That's how you communicate. That is one way of telling people that this is too much money, and obviously give a little bit of feedback. But again, as the Guild Wars 2 community has done on many occasions, they go a little bit too far and literally just wow. I was just like, really? Like, are we gonna be that? We're just gonna get like, really? This is just a skin. They can change it. Like, just give them some feedback. Say, hey, you know what? This kind of sucks. You know what I would do? Say, it's 1,600 gems, but we'll give, a portion to charity or something. That would be cool. That's
Oh,
something
that would have
they
been
could
nice.
do. If they did that kind of thing, I would be like, yeah, flip it. 1,600
A charity
gems.
skin.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think if they did that now and they said, you know what, a portion of the profits, they'll go towards our extra life thing, or it'll go towards, anything. But like, honestly, I mean, just honest opinions, is 1,600 gems, is it worth it really for this? It comes out for the Jade bot. I mean, I haven't used my Jade bot for months. If I'm honest, I haven't actually used it for ages, so it's not something I would buy. But if you're running around these zones, and has anyone bought it in chat? Like, let us know your opinions. Like, is it too expensive? Does it matter?
I have to be honest, I was a little bit baffled by the community response on this.
Okay.
Not because I don't have my own thoughts on the price point, but because I really was kind of flabbergasted that people were so upset about it. Because to me, it's one of those
I didn't
things.
see any of that.
Oh, I saw a lot of
I
it.
must have
I
been
saw
like in the
a
good
lot
graces of the internet where I was like, people were that upset about this? Wow.
Yeah,
It was
they
very
were.
weird to me because to me it's one of those things where the biggest points that I've seen people bring up, one, you can't technically use Jadebot outside of End of Dragons maps currently. And my thought to that is that we have actually heard from the developers here or there and stuff that this may not be a permanent situation. The Jade bots may very well, we may get batteries and things on other maps. They may expand, just like how they eventually put mounts into core maps and stuff like that. They may expand how that's used. It's just that it was released with Cantha, and from a lore perspective, right, that technology wouldn't have just magically shown up in the world, let alone with their own workload and how they might retroactively put that in. So to me, things like Jadebot skins may have more relevance down the road if we do have more ways to use them in all the other environments. One of the other things that I heard is the fact that when you have these skins, like, one, you don't see your Jadebot a whole lot because they just come out to interact with stuff, and two, you can't even see these skins on some of the places, like the little Jadebot terminal when you like fly around and you get to take over first person mode, like those ones that are around. It defaults to just the regular Jadebot skin. My thought with that was that was the case because technically you are like using a Jadebot through that terminal, like you're renting one in that pavilion, or you're like using one. But I do think that especially if they want to sell these at that price point, that since it's some of the only places that you can currently right now even get pictures with Jadebot and stuff like that, right? I do think that they should make it so that your personal skins and cosmetics show up on those. But again, that's an easy patch and an easy fix, and I think community feedback, if we like tell them that, we'll probably see them implement that change, honestly. And then I guess the other thing was just that people felt really strongly that it was the same price as a mount. And to me, that's kind of where, like, yes, I agree, I guess, in the sense that I think that with a mount, you see that cosmetic far more. We have the option to just idle on our mounts. There are cute little animations and stuff like that when you're just like hanging out. So if they were to add something in where like you could have your Jadebot out to idle, or you got some kind of minion version of the Jadebot as along with the actual, you know, cosmetic or the mastery version that flies around, and then any skins that you had would reflect and adapt that so you could have the mini out that would like show your Jadebot for as much time as you wanted, like I would be fine with it. Otherwise, if they leave things just the way they are, I do think they should maybe like bring the price down a little bit, because while it is a mastery cosmetic, it is not, again, something you see as much. But all of that to say, the skin does have entirely unique animations. It's super cute, like it's very well done. You can tell a lot of work went into it. So to me, I was just like, if this doesn't appeal to me, I just won't buy it. And I didn't, because I think the cat's cute, but I'm not like obsessed with having that. So I was like, I just won't get it then. And then I was fine. But I think there's a lot they could do to maybe make that price point feel better for people. Those are like my encompassing thoughts that I've been having this week about it, but
yeah, I share pretty much the same ideas. It is a little too overpriced, I would say, for the majority of the player base. And if they are going and gunning for like the few big buyers to compensate for like their economic gain, that could be maybe, but I think a lot of these discussions are also just in hopes of maybe reducing the price, because people want to purchase it. People want to help fund and, you know, fund the game that they enjoy. But if something is placed at such a price point and the way that it interacts and is shown in the game, it then limits the amount of people who are willing to pay for that product. I think that personally, I would have probably have said 500, 600 gems for this particular skin. Now, if it was also a mini, where it was not only a Jadebot, but a mini combo pack where you can have a mini out permanently, then I could say probably like 1,000 gems, 1,200 gems. That would probably be a little bit more logical for myself as a consumer, rather than something that's priced at a mount price. So
where am I going for this? Am I in the wrong place or something? Or am I just super early? Oh no, it's only just starting. Wait.
I wonder if, so I don't know much about the Jbot skin, but or like the mechanics, but I wonder if also people were worried like the future skins, if they're going to be this price as well.
That's it. That's the problem.
Usually they don't lessen prices, or unless for very particular sales, but that's limited time. They usually, once they establish a price point, they don't tend to waver from it. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't think I would feel as bad about it if, like, again, some of those changes, I mean, and I don't really actually feel bad about it, so I shouldn't even say, it's like, it's one of those things where if I don't really care about it that much and I don't feel like the Jadebot is something that I see that much or care about that much in general, I think the Jadebot is adorable and I love it. It's not to say that I wouldn't like to have cosmetics for it, but in general, I am not, you know, so upset by this that if I don't own it, I'm gonna be real devastated, you know? And I know that may not be the case for everybody. So I think if they looked at some of those things, especially if they want to monetize these, because ultimately they are meeting the community's demands. Like, the community really wanted Jadebot skins. We've heard people yelling about it since they were announced. Like, oh, please sell skins. I would buy them. This is so cute. So now they have to figure out how they add that value to these. I saw in chat somebody bring up, I think Masa got brought up as well, the fact that like Jade bots are also per character as opposed to per account. But technically that's like the cores, like the mastery exists. You know what I mean? Like the upgrades and stuff exist account wide. And honestly, I don't personally think it's all that difficult to get even like a basic Jade bot running on a new character if you are up through End of Dragons. But it is a good point that like for mounts, you are essentially getting that value immediately for all characters forever right from the get-go, because every character, as long as you have mounts unlocked, can use those mounts and see those mounts right from the moment you make them. So I think adjusting some of those things to give the Jade bot a little bit more value or lowering the price point would be an easy fix for ArenaNet in this regard, right? Like,
Yeah.
to me,
really.
I'm just like, as long as there's something where you can see it visibly and all the times you'd want to see it, and maybe, you know, it's a cosmetic where you have that mini unlocked for all characters and it'll reflect that skin even if you don't have all the other stuff or the upgraded orb or core or anything, that's fine to me. I'm like, I just think that they would need to maybe adjust that a little bit.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like, if you don't like it, just don't buy it. Like, why? No, it's not going to affect. It's not going to affect you if it like, you know, in like some massive way. I think it doesn't bode well for future things, like Glenn kind of said, like the worry of the concern of, is that going to be the cost of things in the future, you know? Which they've definitely had some questionable price points on things, I think, in the past. But at the end of the day, like, it's just a thing you pay money for. Like, it's just a cheeky little skin that comes out for 2 seconds. Don't buy it. They'll get the message. Put some respectful feedback. Hey, ArenaNet, this feels a bit cheeky. You know, we're barely using it. Mount skins are the same price, if not cheaper, if you're going for a random one. You know, it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. That's all. Not from the kind of company we feel that you are, and there you go. And we don't feel any differently than we normally do. But you know, maybe have a look at this and give them time to respond. I mean, it literally came out on Tuesday. You know, their cycle of changing things is Tuesdays. You know, they're not going to respond just like that. People seem to think that, you know, the companies respond instantly to things, and they have practices. And the behemoth.
I was gonna say,
They're here.
I'm trying to get around it.
Survived.
This phase is a little bit longer than it was in the past, right? That kind of like build up to it actually appearing. It feels like it was.
So one of the changes also was this portals themselves can now be inflicted with conditions and critical hits. Objects and core material usually are not able to, so for the sake of this and modernizing things, you can now be useful if you're on a condition build.
Nice.
This was actually, I think, one of the very first world bosses I was ever taken to, and I was on stream and I remember just losing it over how cool this was.
Same here.
It's still so impressive.
It's definitely more painful than it was before. I can't fit it in my entire screen at the moment. I think they need to zoom it out a little bit more because I can't fit it in. Like, there it is. There we go. There's the face.
So I do have some opinions around this particular change.
Okay.
I think I really enjoy a lot of it, especially with the portals and also being able to attack its claws. But this attack that it does that's playing right now, his head hitbox is, for the most of the fight, up in the air. And like it's weird because you have to position your camera up, and then if you're melee, you can't even actually attack it for a long duration. So
oh really? Is the hitbox not? Oh yeah,
You know,
I
the
didn't
head
get it.
hitbox just goes into the sky for what
Yeah.
feels like 80% of the fight.
Isn't that more?
So
Do you think that's more accurate though than actually like now it's down? Now you can hear his melee. Do you think that's more accurate though? And it felt weird that the hitbox was so massive if you were melee, and it's maybe teaching you about like bringing something specific if you want to max out the damage for the fight, or do you think
Or,
that's,
like,
that kind of?
having
Well, I think
a ranged...
you can strike a healthy combination where that attack could still exist, but I think that it plays too frequently,
That's cool.
and that when the head is down on the ground, it doesn't actually like attack or bite or anything. So I just
Yeah.
think that perhaps the frequency of it switching into a different range occurs too greatly, and the position of it also is a little wonky. So that's my only criticism with this fight. I actually really like its model update. The portals, as I said, are a big improvement, and also the damaging fields are much more lethal, which creates more of a accurate world boss feel. So that's my one like constructive criticism feedback kind of
Okay, yeah,
opinion.
that makes sense. Absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like that their heads up in the air. I think as a new player as well, it might encourage you to look at your long range options, especially being in such a low level zone.
I didn't even know you could hit the head when it was in the air in the beginning as a melee. Like,
So
before
maybe
the
that,
update.
maybe that's.
I
the-
fully was like, well,
yeah.
their head is up. I see the attack reticle, but I can't reach that as a melee. So
Yeah,
So
and
how does-
considering
how does that
players, they
feel?
might not know what weapons they have apply ranged
That's
attacks. I
very
mean,
true,
oftentimes
actually.
we have like the commonalities
true.
of longbow and pistol, but sometimes like Mesmer's like greatsword is a long range weapon.
Can you rank
So-
it with mid range
hammer
weapons?
is a ranged weapon.
And additionally,
mean-
I'm on an Ellie and I can't weapon swap, and
That-
I don't have anything to attack this with.
That's true.
That to me feels like something where, again, I think even having like a tutorial baseline of
Yeah.
what are things we expect you to look out for. Oh, well, you need to know that eventually you'll be able to have multiple weapons. And with those sets, you can build things like ranged. You can build, so there may be some bosses where you have to attack them from range in this cycle or things like that. I think that giving players a heads up on that, no like
or
head
like
pun
voice lines
attack,
or something. Or like.
well, something like that,
Yeah.
where
Or
players
even a
have an
window
idea.
that shows you because in the hero tab you can see all the weapons that you have. I didn't know about that for a while actually. Like when you look at your builds, you're like, oh, these are the weapons I have. So I'm like, wait, I can use a Gracer as a ranger? What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
And it does feel very reminiscent of later things like Drakkar, right? Drakkar has those kind of phases. Same thing with the the end of the Drizzlewood meta, the ice dragon there that you fight the champion. Like
Yes,
he has
yeah.
those same kind of phases where you're attacking his hands, or like then his head will come down. So like I like the idea of them putting it in here, but I can definitely see what you're saying, Kroof. I do think that like, especially for players that may not know the full range of those options, or like may not understand even like, because when I first started playing a lot of these, I thought to myself, is there a difference between attacking the hands or the head? Like, do
Yeah.
I do more damage? Is this like a burst window where when his head is down, I should like be focusing that at all costs? Is it literally just that those are different areas that I can target and I just need to pay attention to which one is near me, whether it's hands or head, if I'm running, I don't know, pure melee or something? Like, so I think it does create kind of those questions.
We're struggling here as well. This is legit struggle
Yeah.
town. This is like, yeah, absolutely.
But don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
I
sorry,
actually
didn't mean to interrupt.
love. Oh yeah, sorry. Do you want to finish?
No,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead,
just kind of
go ahead.
randomly talked over you.
I'm sorry. I do love the fact that they do swap. I just think it's more so the issue of frequency, because oftentimes we just have a melee, everyone stack at the same location and kill the boss. So this
Yeah.
does create a dynamic range. I just don't know if at this point in the game,
Yes. Yeah. Go. Continue.
it should
Sorry.
be as frequent as it is. Also, the reticle's on his face. I think the reticle could be more so in the middle of his body, because positioning that
Yeah.
camera up, it's like you
Yep.
lose out on
Or his
visuals
butt
of
or
everything
something.
around you. Yeah, so I think like I like what the foundation of this fight is, and I appreciate the change in direction, just like a couple tweaks, and I think that this would have been maybe my favorite. But because it's a little current, it's not my absolute favorite.
Ooh.
It's
I really like the Mesmer clones that were just in his mouth.
Yeah, that's the same on a lot of
because
bosses.
it's so high up,
Yeah.
everything spawns like in the air.
Yeah, everything like there's one currently here as well. That's always been a thing with other bosses as well. It's so funny. One thing that I really like with that point as well, is it just too much for like really early players? Like, is this just too much? But one thing that is good is they put the green rings around the boss parts that you can
I
hit.
love that.
That's brand new.
Yeah,
That is. That's
yeah.
brand new. Not seen that
I don't
before.
I don't necessarily think this is too much for new players. I feel like overall, even with some of those little adjustments like Kroof was saying that I think could maybe make certain things a little bit clearer,
Yeah.
I do actually feel like this fight, even thinking back on the very first time I ever ran it, I do feel like this fight visually communicates what you need to do fairly well, like the big swords that are over the portals, or I think they could maybe make it a little clearer where we, you know, he goes invuln and you have to do the portal kind of thing and all that stuff. Like, I think, is he invuln right? I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Oh, shit.
Okay, okay.
Kill the
There we
portals.
go.
Do we kill the
Then,
portals
like-
now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty
When the
sure
portals-
we
when the
did.
portals are up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking like whenever he would do like these special movements that like we just can't reach them. I don't
Yeah.
know why I can miss people right now.
But I love his attacks. I think his claws, when they slam down, they will knock you back and apply
Yeah.
torment to you. More of his abilities apply conditions, and I am always a big champion of introducing more conditions and also boons on enemies, because you see it so frequently in PvP modes, but for the longest of times, boons and conditions were sparsely applied by PvE enemies, but
True.
it's such a core part of the game. So I like their attack updates a
And
lot.
you can't like if you don't have boons, it like takes like so much of the mechanics away from like Spellbreaker, Necro,
Yeah.
Mesmer. Like you're not using any of those like boon transfers. You're not using boon transfers. You're not using any of the boon
Boon strip,
sniping,
corruption.
stripping.
Yeah,
Thank you very
yeah.
much for the words. I completely forgot. Exactly, yeah. So like when you're in, I totally agree with that. So true, because there is some. There used to be, actually, this is probably where Boots would start talking about bringing back stability into the break bars. Or I think that was Boots anyway, or leaving it or taking away or something. I can't remember if he gets triggered, like he gets annoyed by that. Anyway, random statement. Sorry, people's like stuff comes into my head sometimes, and I need to say it out loud, otherwise it's in my brain and it hurts. Sorry.
Same.
But yeah,
Can someone
no,
remind me what are these green rings do?
you just stand there. That's the hit. It looks like that's the hit
Yeah.
box area.
Gotcha.
So with these world bosses,
So-
they've also added those rings to denote their radius of attack and like where you can hit them.
Okay, yeah. It's like
So I
it's a
think-
cue, right? It's like go here. Green means good.
Go here,
Go to
fancy,
green
right?
thing. Yeah, kill stuff.
Could have maybe been red actually.
I think
green
red denotes
usually is, like,
AoE
ally.
though.
I've been running
Yeah,
away from the red.
I would
'cause I'm
run
like,
away
that
from
looks
red,
Like I'm gonna die.
usually.
Like right here, this red.
Yeah,
is
that-
not gonna
that's
you
bad.
gotta.
That's
Or like
bad.
a yellow,
Yellow wouldn't be bad.
yellowish white.
Well-
I think green.
A
Oftentimes,
chartreuse.
yeah, green is usually like ally. I mean,
What's
I guess
green?
green
What's
isn't.
green and red
You know-
mixed together?
you know,
I just don't know.
got a good point. Actually, green would be
Smith.
fine because actually there isn't many green area of effect rings. They're
No.
usually white
Yeah.
or blue.
It's normally
yeah, okay, so I guess
green.
green's fine.
It's like it's normally group up, isn't it? Often because
Yeah,
you're
with the
often like
solid
splash
green.
damage. Yeah. So that
And
makes
in
sense.
video games, green just like has the connotation of healing, so it feels like it's a safe spot. But going back
But then you
to-
get poisoned and die.
True. But going back to like the difficulty of like new players, I think like this is the part where like design and like helps with like the feel. Like the behemoth, he's huge.
Yeah.
So like I assume as a new player, you're like, oh, like if we don't like this is a fight. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
even though like we're in like a starting zone, it's like I can do this. Like I think it like it like helps like enthuse, I think that's the word, like newer players to be like, oh, this is like what kind of like these big fights can like seem like. And also just the fact like we needed all these people, there were all these portals, we had to do movement. It wasn't just a static, I mean they were static, but like it wasn't like we were static, we had to keep moving. There are lots of AoEs, like there's a lot of action happening, and like there's the people around you to help support you, which like really like encompass like this is a world boss. So I think because of like the elements of design in general, it helps to like make sense the difficulty, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I think we can, even in these earlier zones for newer players, it really, in my opinion, is about how the player interacts with the fight, if they're able to interact with it in a decent manner. But in terms of difficulty, you can usually rely on your allies to help resurrect you, to heal you, to grant you barrier, all these beneficial effects. Even newer players who are starting out, they might want to do that. So when they're doing these larger events, they're like, oh, I'm gonna build a little bit more healing so that I can play this play style that I typically enjoy. So I think the difficulty is pretty much perfect because you have a lot of action going on.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, because I know both me and Crew play in action camera mode. How does the game show you like
Oh wow, okay.
your range? Because I know like with action camera, like the reticle kind of like changes to be like, okay, you can now like you're in range to attack with this range thing. Like how does the game like tell you if you're in or out of range? I guess it does, like when you hit, instead of damage it says out of range, but like the hitbox is so high.
You just won't get numbers, I guess.
It actually does. If you are, even if you're not using action camera, if you look at your skills, at the very bottom of the skills, some of them will be red. That means that you're not in range of anything to deal damage. If you then select a target and then get into range, that red bar underneath will go away, and that indicates that you're in range to use that particular skill if that skill has more range. So like, I'm on a melee, but I have a leap, so I'm at like 600 range, but that one skill doesn't have that red bar underneath it. So that tells me that I can use it.
I feel like that is so hard to like pick up, especially with
it
the
really
yellow
is.
bar.
No
With
one
the yellow-
tells you.
It's a contrast thing, because I think I may have actually like discovered that like before, but I've obviously forgotten it, because it's really cool seeing it like change. But like I think because the XP bar is so bright, it's hard to notice it.
Yeah, perhaps it could maybe be a little bit thicker, or like
Well, let me.
it's a small little detail. Yeah.
It's the small things.
I just realized I'd muted myself because there were loud cars going by.
Oh.
I think that I think that is a good point too, as far as things to teach or not in the game. I mean, I'm curious, like, do all of you feel as though the separation between melee and ranged is distinct enough and fundamental enough in the game that it is something that should be taught? I mean, do you feel like even weapon swapping and the pros and cons of weapon swapping are something that should be implemented in like a tutorial or at some point in a story mission? Like,
is that something that's happening now though in the new tutorial? I mean, I don't know.
It's not in
No.
it's not in the like one that they did in End of Dragons.
They're doing the new player
but-
experience. That one though, you know, the one we can't actually play.
Yeah.
Well,
So we don't know.
It tells you get weapon swap. So I feel like at least like, and it's pretty obvious. Like when like you get levels, like it'll keep telling you like, oh, like 7 levels until you can weapon swap, 5 levels until you can weapon swap. So I feel like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's how
yeah.
you felt. Like, is that so? What you're saying, Rookie? You're saying more about like the benefits of weapon swapping specifically, because there are runes and sigils and stuff that are relevant to that. Not runes, sorry.
I guess no, you're good. I mean, I guess yes, it feels like something that I would assume most players, if they're familiar with games where you have multiple weapons and things like that, you would kind of get. I guess the thing for me that like as a new player, I didn't totally get was how that fundamentally affects so many other things in the game. Like, yes, you can weapon swap, but it took me much longer and hearing from many other people to even understand that combining a different main hand and offhand weapon gave me a hybrid of both sets, and that like certain combinations of those sets were, you know, like this gives me more defensive, this gives me more offensive. On these certain bosses in these phases, I can only use ranged, or things like that. I guess I'm thinking more so, I don't know if I even personally think that it has to be something that is like a fundamental lesson, because most people I think over time will probably look up builds, or they'll get a curiosity for learning more about like why I might use like which weapon, or they might even intuitively know that stuff like shield, for example, typically is more defensive, but like was kind of pointed out in game, pointed out while we've been playing today in game, sometimes a lot of our classes do subvert those expectations, and so I guess a part of me couldn't help but wonder if it would be beneficial to actually include something like that to say like, you know, do you need more of a ranged option to attack a foe that's high up and they have an example, or do you need this, or this is how you can tell what that is, or are you looking for more offense, defense, try combining weapons. So I don't know, like, I don't know if it's necessary. I guess it's just something that crossed my mind as something that I had to essentially go outside of the game to learn, because even knowing that I could swap weapons, I didn't really realize what that meant for Guild Wars 2 specifically until much later.
I would say if you've had that experience, there are probably people that have had that same experience. That's right.
I really like everything that you've said, and it kind of leads me, because it is so specific to professions, that leads me to just my overall wish for more class-specific quests at certain levels to better teach a player their class.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably be a smart idea, like if there ever was a class quest system. At level 15, when you unlock weapon swap, you'd have to go to your class trainer, you go into a small arena, and they're like, here's a weapon to try, this one's ranged. You do some things to like kill some ranged targets. Try this one's melee. You do some melee stuff, and it's like, oh, here's your support weapon, go heal that target over there. Something very fundamental.
Yes.
And I think that because it is so specific to classes, you can get more class lore out of it. Like the Mesmer trainer's like, here's a great sword. You might look at it and look at the other martial classes and think that it's a melee weapon, but us Mesmers, we use it to project mental damage. We're just built different.
No, that actually does make sense, because I remember when I was first playing the game, I didn't even know where to get weapons. So like literally it was whatever like I got from drops from monsters that I'm like, can I use this? No. And then and then when I got a new one, I was like, oh, what's this do? Oh, it's a different ability. What's this? Because I also like, I don't think other games do this, where like your class, the weapon you get fundamentally changes your abilities. Like there's like ESO where it's like the weapon has its own abilities. But in Guild Wars 2, it's like you mix them in.
They make you mix them in. They're not like these. Because you can have just all Templar abilities, and you can mix in like destruction stuff and etc. etc. But you do have to have that weapon. That's so true. And
like also like playing warrior. Like, okay, I have a gray sword. That's what warrior does. And then your range was like, wait, it's different abilities. Like I don't think someone would know that.
That's true.
Actually, a really interesting thing between ESO and Guild Wars 2, because with ESO, although technically it's probably one of the MMOs out there right now that I think functions the most similarly to Guild Wars 2 in regards to that, but technically you have to get that weapon and then level that weapon up. So as you go through it, you are picking what that weapon does, right? Like you go in and you see like, oh, what's my next skill that unlocks? Okay, cool. And I can morph it this way or that way, or I can do this, or that has, oh, this staff has a whole bunch of heals on it. Oh, because it's a restoration staff, or this one is, you know, damage staff because of this. And then you level it up and choose for yourself what you're going to pick through it. So in a sense, that's almost like the tutorial of that weapon, because you are having to like read and make those choices on it. Versus in Guild Wars 2, where you pick up a weapon and you're like, what happened to my ability?
You're like, and then all your abilities just like swap, and it's like, what?
It kind of used to function like that, where you wouldn't just. It was a bit slower, but I think at a certain level, your rate of learning different weapons was like exponentially increased. But it used to work where you'd have your weapon, even in your starting instance, and if you attacked like and killed a creature or two, you would automatically learn your second ability, because it would, you know, increase your leveling. And I do look back on those times fondly, because I think it was a nice way for people to be introduced to different skills that may be a little bit more, you know, easy of a pace, where you're not just like, oh, and I have 5 different skills now that I have no idea how to use them.
It's also, look, Pax Jimmer is here. Hello, Pax. Pax has joined us on our journey of getting hope as well recently. Like, I've just been hanging out in all of our streams, I think, at some point. Hello.
They updated the idol. You want to come look at the
the actual idol itself? Oh, I haven't done this one yet. I missed it. Oh, that's sick. Is that actually Jormag's? Like, that looks like Jormag?
It's Jormag.
Oh, that's
it's Jormag right
cool.
here. I'm coming. Is this
cool.
one up next? Is this one up next? Oh, I'm so excited to see this one.
When is it? How long?
1:15, 5 minutes. Yeah.
I love. Okay, That's also something I love about this community. It's like a very small thing, but the fact like when people explain that an event's happening, they use XX and then just a minute, since we're all in different time zones. I'm like, this is amazing. Why don't other people do this? Like,
Oh well, I've never done that before, so that's good notice.
yeah, so like,
I'm just like, I just said a couple of minutes, I guess, rather than
I don't
like
talk in game.
1:15.
yeah, because right now it's like 1:11 for you, but it's 4:11 for me. But then when like this starts at XX15, we both know it's in 4 minutes, which is like, oh,
Sorry, it's Creep's just like, I just don't talk in game.
Yeah, no, it's
It's
good.
probably a good idea as well, honestly, sometimes. Just don't, like, especially if you're in the mists most of the time, just never talk in there. Just don't even have chat up, honestly.
it's the
a
way
bad
that I
place.
go to the mist just to go to the bank, and just 5 seconds, I want to delete my chat.
Yeah, well, I want to delete the game sometimes, honestly. I'm just not very proud of our community when I go in there. But that's
I'll
that
read a
part of the game.
Oh, I have also witnessed some really wonderful things in game. I do want to
Wow,
say.
Jebro.
No. That we're talking
Always
about the
harping
mists.
on the negative.
No. Come on. I'm speaking. I'm not saying the community is negative. I wouldn't be doing this for 10 years. If I
Oh no,
was.
but it is.
Wow,
But like,
bro.
it's the
I'll say it.
PvP
Yes.
mists on the NA specifically aren't the friendliest of places, and I think a lot of people probably understand what I'm saying. Unfortunately, with that.
Yeah,
It literally
Which is
goes
why I
from like
love
0 to
that.
100 there. I'm like, what is going on?
It
It's
does,
a different
it does
game.
really. But like
I mean,
Glenn
I've
said,
had-
it's better.
And I mean,
Rework.
I've had a lot of really good experiences too. I mean, even when I was working on the Return to achievements, I was so surprised because I was kind of like, oh, I'm used to my community or like people, or when I'm live, we'll hang out and do stuff. But when I'm just doing my own business in game, a lot of times I'll just kind of do what I'm doing, or I just want the privacy. But when I was working on Return 2's off stream, there were quite a few times where I was just like, well, I'm gonna shout out and just ask a question in the chat because I've played this game for years now, but I don't know how to do this exact one thing. And while I could look it up, at the same time, I was kind of like, I kind of want to just see if anybody's around. Like, I want to just see if somebody will tell me right now. And I had so many people that were so helpful, or like, joined for groups or agreed to help with stuff, even that was like way out of their way. And I think like remembering those moments, even when we witness a lot of the toxicity that can happen in games, as well as sort of pushing against that when we see it in a space, and reporting somebody that is being really awful in a chat and moving on from it, or if you see somebody being harassed or something, just standing up and saying, no, like, stop this is not acceptable here, and then reporting. Like, those things I think help reinforce the community. But all of that to say, what I was going to say before this was that Glenn mentioned really liking that, like grouping up and doing stuff like this, or people talking about timers and stuff as well in the game is really fantastic. And one of the things that I love about Guild Wars 2 is that integrated wiki function, and the fact that like when I was first learning about the game and learning about like metas in particular, I had people tell me all the timers are up on the wiki, and you can literally go to the wiki and see how much time, when you're going to do it, how long. And then if you want the convenience item in game, you can also buy like a timer reminder in game that will pop up like, hey, just reminding you this is about to start in 5 minutes if you wanted to do it today. And to me, like, those kind of convenience items are so good, but you can also get the exact same information for free if you don't, want that. But
Well,
I
the
think
portal
actually-
device.
Voter.
This is what the portal device is on the screen I have now. So basically, you can just go there, and it's so handy. It's one of the best items in the game for sure. You just buy it, and I think, how much is it? They normally have sales on it as well. Kind of, it's like 600 gems or so. You click it, and it
if you
tells
wanna
you the
be-
bosses coming up.
If you want to be a coder, you can type in /wiki space ET, and it immediately pulls up a
That's it.
page of the event timers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Someone
hacking
told me
into the
the-
mainframe.
Someone told me the acronym because I actually was like legit writing event timer fully, and someone just said you can just write ET. I'm like, this has shaved so many seconds off my life.
Truly. Saving my fingers.
I always forget about the wiki in game. I just go over to my other window, and I'm like, why don't you just type this in the game?
One thing I do wish that I personally, I love this in 14. I think it's the only MMO that does this. There's an option where, actually maybe ESO does, maybe other MMOs do, but there's an option where you can just clear the chat, like of everything, like logs, whispers, whatever. Because so for me, I'm neurodivergent, and a lot of times like things that like would bother someone really bother me, and like if I keep seeing it, I just keep getting annoyed again and again and again. And I wish when I do take that few seconds to go to the guild or to the bank in the myths, and people kind of are going off about things that are like, what are you talking about? I wish I can delete it from my tab instead of having to go somewhere else or going to a place and just typing and say trying enter to enter cleanse enter my enter chat, because I don't want to see it. It's a small thing, but it's like
yeah,
personally,
cleanse my chat. Yeah, World of Warcraft you could do that. I think that was
it's actually called cleanse.
I think there is a command somewhere. Is it cleanse? I can't remember. It's something like that. Clean chat.
It's a spell. It's a spell.
Might have been
It's like cleanse toxicity. Waboom.
It might have been ripped actually. I don't know. I can't remember.
In 14, you type in /clear log, and I actually made a macro of it. So I just press a button. So I'm like, no. If I had a bad dungeon.
Oh, macro. Oh, by the way, also live peeps, if you want to do join Jebro.6370, that's my account. You can join us, by the way. I can make this a squad, and you can come and join us and play with us if you want. You're more than welcome to. I was meant to say that. There we go.
I have a question. How do you get instruments?
Gem store.
Okay, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Later. Investment.
Can you get the bell for Winter's Day from just the event?
Yeah, it's
I think so.
usable.
Yeah.
It's usable. It's an achievement thing as well. You can get the permanent one, and then you can get the one that drops to one time.
So you can get that just from a seasonal event.
What does the
bells,
interface look like for instruments? Because you can play whatever you want, right? It's not like, I mean, clearly someone's playing copyrighted music right now.
Yeah, I wandered away
It's
from
just
that.
your skills. It's just your skill bar, and then it has like different notes for each
This
ability.
is a pre-event for this. If anyone wants it, I'll lower it here now.
Okay. One of the other things that's great though is that you can actually in-game mute instrument sounds.
Yes.
So
Oh.
if you ever need it, you can mute it. I
forgot about that.
I love everybody on stream and everybody that would want to be festive and play stuff, but my brain cannot handle listening
Too
to
much. It's too
in the
much.
background while I'm trying to maintain
A
conversations.
great impression of musical
Is-
instruments.
Is anyone like this? But like, if I'm speaking and then he starts having dialogue, I can't talk because there's so much stimuli. I have to take a
Yeah,
break
it messes with your brain.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. New one.
It's just like I can't talk.
Oh yeah,
yes,
that is a new model.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
new
good.
models for every single one
Oh.
except the fire elemental.
Oh, he's good.
I
is
love
good.
that they increased his size because I think
Yeah.
it needed to be visually impressive and
Yo,
something that
I'm
you
up
can
to his
look at.
ankle.
Well, you
My
couldn't
little
see him.
sword.
You couldn't see him before. You were just like everyone was just using abilities. Oh wow. Okay, that massive fear.
He looks so good.
and he's-
He looks a little bit like the ice bird later, and like everything that we'll see. And the new totem is really great. I loved that you pointed that out, Curve.
Yeah. it
And
is
yeah, just to
more appropriate.
reinforce again, the detail that went into these reworks, it's like you didn't need to update the model of the totem of the idol.
Yeah.
But they did, and it's just like that
Yeah.
little bit is just
Yeah, but
bringing
you
up
appreciate those
early Guild Wars
touches.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, to now, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we actually know what Jormag looks like, and the Svanir would too, so of course it would be more accurate.
It's a good time to do
Yeah.
it. It really is the best time to do it. I feel like there's a lot. If they're gonna do that though, there's also other stuff. If they're gonna start doing it, it's like they need to like do others. There's some other bits and bobs where I'm like, you know, World v World looks tired. Like it looks old. Like, that's
Mama, you look tired.
just like update the walls and stuff. That would be cool. But like, yeah, there's some other areas that I really hope. Is there anything that like actually Glenn?
Oh, he's
actually
tanky.
Glenn, like, yeah, oh yeah. Glenn, like, is there any parts of the game where you feel like look dated when you first played it? Like, not gonna take any. We're not gonna take any offense, but I just wonder, like, as a newer player, because well, technically you're not new, but you're still new.
Well, as a new player.
Compared, like yeah, but like when you were your
As a new
experience is a bit fresher maybe than ours, and also you know when you started Rook as well, was there ever any thought of like, oh this looks a bit dated or anything, or like I
So
think
visually, no, because I assumed when I was a newer player, I just assumed it was just the art style. But I
Yeah.
know this isn't related to what we're doing now. But like some of like the instant story fights did feel dated because Like now there's more of like, you know, NPCs like, you need to go over here and get this staff and attack this puddle. Like, and it helps. It really helps because before, so I complained this to Rook and Crew. Some of the fights feel so unintuitive, and like sometimes you're not quick enough to pick up on the smallest of details. So then it gets frustrating because like you're either dying or nothing else is dying around you. Like, why are they invulnerable? I don't know what's going on. And it's like
Some
it
of them,
turns out the 4th episode of Living World Season 3, you have to find the scroll that's inside one of these ice picks that Bram lost, but you need to make sure you solve that.
I actually remember that.
Second to be like, where?
Glenn, I'm sorry. I love that you called that one specifically out because I have done that one before and I had to go back and do it for Return 2 and I died for like 40 minutes and could not figure out what was happening and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to make him run into this thing and then go and make that explode and then get this from it and it was just like not happening.
The fights were getting better too, like they were getting more involved, and then this one came. I'm like, oh well, we're back in season 1. Like, what's going on?
Oh, back in base game.
That's such a good point.
I guess,
That's such a good point. And one of the things that used to always drive me a little bit up the wall about those particular encounters is that because a lot of veteran players will have run those story instances 1,000 times for achievements or various achievements or like trying to get all the achievements you can get from it or a lot of times when I was playing through it myself for the first time I'd have people be like, Rook, you just aren't paying attention. Rook, you just aren't doing the thing you're supposed to do, and it's so obvious. Clearly you have to get this weird thing and then get it from there and then put it here and then do that and then know that you're supposed to use this weird object and like I was like,
to be fair, often I'm the one who is doing that. No, I'm not paying attention.
Like, sorry, I'm not playing.
I'm literally doing that. So
I also love the second model of this fight.
Yes.
Oh shit! Okay.
Ooh.
Did none of y'all notice that?
Oh, he just popped up.
I love it.
I was too busy looking at my Virtuoso knives. I love them.
Wait, so it is the what is it called? Oh no, the name didn't change. So what technically is he?
I love this.
It's a Svanir shaman that is being corrupted by Joymag.
I love this. This is so good.
Yeah, that's better.
And
he's running all over the shop. This last time, it just stood there in one spot.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the other thing I wanted to point out because I love that they've given him movement. So they've given him these charge attacks that you'll see again.
Oh yay!
Yeah, you'll see it in.
Thank you so much,
you'll see that stuff in. You'll see that stuff in Heart of Thorns. You'll see those kind of line charge attacks. Plus, it actually makes use of this huge area in front of that platform. Because, like you said before, it was just like you'd run up to him, and then everybody would burn him, and then he'd just die right there. And you were lucky if you'd even seen the model, if you even knew who you were attacking.
I don't even know if I remember what the model looks like, to be honest. Before,
just basic Lorne.
Yeah,
all of these moments feel really epic, especially considering that eventually you do face Jormag, and this is like a great precursor to that. And like even the visual of when he's summoning the, elemental in the background, and now layering all the mechanics from those puddles you have to dodge out of, to the line attacks, to now these swirling ice storms. And I can think of so many instances where you get these kind of moving effects. The bandits, the bandit 3-bandit fight you have to do in one of the raids where the last one summons those fire tornadoes. The one with the big rock candy. The big rock candy man, the one who is like, the power of the elements is at my command. That guy. I'm always good at remembering everybody's name.
Is this in a raid?
So wait a minute.
It's in a raid.
Wait,
he's White Mantle.
What did you call him? The big white candy man?
He's a big rock candy man.
Not to interrupt.
You mean
May I ask a mechanic question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've never been able to understand this. So this type of AoE where like it looks like the lines are like sine waves, like they're just like going up and down.
That's just constant. Like that just means it's constant. Yeah.
Okay, and then it's not a telegraph because I know like sometimes the White Mantle Mesmer use that before like the sword just comes up. Is that just like a very specific thing?
It's active like now kind of thing. But also it depends because marks for necro, if you're an enemy and you're looking at an enemy necro, that is also the same, but it also has a mark in the middle. So there is a difference, but so telegraphed wind up AoEs are normally like a bronze until they hit, and if they leave AoE, then it's red. So like this now, as you can see, it becomes red as it goes out. So that means like, warning kind of thing. But when it gets the edge of the circle, that's when it hits all of that area specifically.
Like it's a charge up, like you have to get ready to like either get out or dodge.
That's it.
I
So
love that.
It's
Dodge
like
or block it.
It's like yellow. It's like traffic lights, I guess. And I guess, well, not all traffic lights are the same in every country. I appreciate that. But like most,
I respect traffic lights.
Yeah.
in most like, I guess, a lot of Western places, yellow is like warning, and then red is like bad. I don't keep away, kind of thing, I guess.
Well, I have another question. Going back to, Gray, I forgot the question immediately as I said.
Sorry, that was my fault. I rambled.
No, so about the evading, does the evading? I don't know. It feels like it's kind of. I have to evade before I assume the attack goes. Like
before it's. Do you just have to get out of the circle? You have to just get out of it, basically.
Depending on
I think from other games, I'm so used to like iframes. So it's like you want to dodge the moment the attack hits, but I feel like whenever I do that, I get hit because like the game processes that I'm still in the area, so I get hit if I don't dodge.
So
like
the thing, sorry. Please finish.
Oh, I'm done. I was just gonna put a period.
I'm done.
I'm
leaving.
I got excited to answer you.
You know what? No, I am gonna leave.
You know what? I am gonna leave.
I was just gonna say I had the same problem coming from Final Fantasy 14 into Guild Wars 2, because in 14 there is a slight server delay. So almost everything you do, you see the visual, you then move, the visual resolves, and then it detonates.
Is that what the surfing is about in Final Fantasy 14? That's what that's about, isn't it? When you do the casting and then all of a sudden you can slide.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Slide casting.
Very cool. I like that.
So in Guild Wars 2, when a thing hits, it hits.
Yeah.
So like because of that, a lot of the pacing of attacks, or even like multiple AoEs that are layering in an area or things like that, they will all just detonate when they go off, or they'll immediately happen when they go off, because you have things like the responsive dodge roll. So you have to get used to more so of the pace. I see it, I move out of it, or like I see it, I immediately respond to it. And you can get that timing down with things like dodge rolls, where you can still stay within the area, but like exactly when it detonates, you dodge, and then you're invuln to it during that dodge. But it just takes a little bit of like practice, and certain bosses as well, because of their attacks, it might like detonate a little bit faster versus a different one, or so like you kind of have to learn and then like pace around those fights, especially in stuff like raids or strikes.
Yeah, so
it
feels
much
like,
more active.
Like in Guild Wars 2, because I feel like I played other games where there were iframes. It's like in those other games, it must have just been how the coding works, that like you basically press the button as like the numbers would hit you, but that's not realistic. Where like in Guild Wars 2, I guess like when the attack hits, you should already be mid dodge, like you're in the air dodging it as it should be. I think that's
not
why
the whole animation that is evading, like technically invulnerable, like kind of Cass is saying. It's the mid, it's almost like the beginning and the end, but it's like the the arching part of your dodge, I guess, which is weird.
Especially because you can like even be in the circle, dodge, and then still be in the AoE, but because you dodge the attack, you evade, which was also like
sometimes you don't. There are some attacks, because if it's just a permanent AoE, I think you don't get attacked for. There's one ability, I can't remember what it's called, where it doesn't matter if you dodge.
Some abilities are a bit tricky, because sometimes they'll go through dodge. Most of the times they don't, but
some weird
I would usually
ones.
say like a half a second, or like a close to a quarter of a second before you see an ability actually go off, that's when you should be dodging. You can sometimes line it up with as it's going, but you have a decent window of the dodge where you will continue to evade an attack. And then you get into the particulars of the certain mechanic that you are faced with. Some of the times they're more lingering AoEs, sometimes they're one hits, sometimes they are a one hit but they continue to go. So if you dodged forward with it, you'll dodge the first couple of attacks like a charge, but once it ends, he's still charging the same direction, so you'll get hit again and carried. So it's much more of like, it depends on the situation, but in general, I'd say like just before the ability hits, start dodging.
I
Thank you.
wanted to really fast steer the conversation back to what we just experienced.
I want to talk about it.
Playing the world bosses. I love that. I think so far out of all the redesigns, that one feels to me the most drastic. It feels like, I mean, I really enjoyed the pacing of the others and they felt like much meatier fights, but this one felt like an entirely different experience and I adore it. It makes it like a real standout now for me. I think it goes to show how you can take just like that guy to like totally different levels and make him actually like a memorable world boss and villain. I love the mechanics that he puts down. They feel so relevant, like I was saying, to other stuff that we see in the game across like all forms of content. I think chef's kiss, that one was so good, and the new models look incredible. They leave way bigger of an impression.
I agree. I think that the shaman is probably my second favorite of the 4 bosses. I love the model. The attacks are really nice and fresh for an early player. I love the mobility. They're actually taking use of the area. And as you progress in the fight, the ice storms become more numerous, they become more deadly, and you still have to stay on your toes. My one critique why it's not my number 1 favorite is because there isn't a break bar phase. He has a defiance bar, but it's locked for the entire fight. And I think it would have behooved the fight to have one instance of a break bar at a certain health percentage. We had it for the jungle worm, and you split, so it was maybe a bit more of a spread out defiance bar phase. And I think having it on a one particular boss is also a nice thing, because oftentimes when you're in a raid or strike mission, you are just fighting one boss and it has a break bar. So that's my very small, like, oh, I would have liked if it had a break bar, but overall I think the shaman is 9 out of 10. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's not too ridiculous either. It's kind of just like, it's pretty easy, honestly. Ah, good lord, stop hurting me in the face. This fight is fun. I love this fight. Yeah, it was a good fight.
I've never done this one before, so...
I've never done it.
Oh,
Drawback.
okay.
Yeah, this is good. They actually, this model is newer, but they redid it quite soon after launch. I think it was a year or 2, maybe? Someone will post it in chat, or the date. I'm not sure who will do it, but they definitely will.
And the hour.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
the second.
somewhere.
I love that there is a place there at the start of this to use siege turtles in breaking down the wall that forms. Like,
Oh, you can
even
use
though
them
this
there,
is
yeah.
yeah, people were using them. Like, even though it's older content, it wasn't designed with that in mind. It does make me excited about like other things they could do for open world stuff, right? Like using siege turtles in mind now.
People are like, you know, they want to immerse themselves in the turtle love as well.
Oh wait, do the
Isn't that-
siege turtles like do more damage to the wall?
I don't know if they do more damage.
I don't know. I just saw a bunch of people all mount up on their siege turtles
Because
to burn the
think-
wall
I
really
think
fast at the start.
We broke through that really fast. I think it does.
I wonder if it does do it that fast. Maybe. Oh, damn.
Wow.
Does that come up again?
No,
does,
now
doesn't
we
it?
have to escort the golem.
Oh, man. Oh, well.
Yeah, I think that
Oh, no, it
might,
does
because
come-
I remember the
Yeah.
wall being a mechanic where people had to go back and forth a few times to
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
kill it. That was an easy clear. Wow.
Oh, I did see Rook do this fight though on her stream, so it does look
Oh.
familiar. I don't know where to stand.
Wherever you
Everywhere
want.
to stay.
Oh, we're just going for it.
On the right
oh,
foot.
Wow.
On the right foot. Oh, as we're looking at the
Oh,
right
okay.
foot. Anyway.
Ooh. Yeah, now the ice damage.
Is there like a lot of
heat?
healing needed for this one?
If you want to go melee, yes, because he applies like a debuff that does a lot of damage over time.
This is why I'm
and it can't be
healing, yeah.
cleansed. So like healing is very important. Or staying back here, and then you escort a golem to interrupt it, and that prevents the area from taking the debuff,
there
and then
are
you can go and attack it.
monsters, and people are dead.
Oh, yeah, people die
Yeah,
a lot on this boss, to be fair. It's just like
You're
a normal
staying in
thing.
melee and just going for it, you're gonna take a lot of damage.
I'm like just healing in these boss fights now. I'm giving
Do you-
protection and stuff.
Do any of you think that this one needs an update, or do you feel pretty good about where it's at?
Maybe health, but other than that, I think the mechanics are perfectly fine.
Yeah, because it's quicker to kill than the Svarnir chieftain thingamajig, and this is the Claw of Jormag should be really a level up from that. You'd expect, like, it just feels like if this is going to be an epic kind of claw dragon thing, then it should probably be, because it's effectively a lieutenant, right? I guess, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it seems a bit tame compared to the Svarnir chieftain, where there is quite a few of those. Oh, there's loads of people just dead on the side. Oh, there you go.
There's a lot of death.
There's a lot.
Glenn, you died in quite a special place there.
What was that?
The only the only thing that I can think of to like maybe update or make consistent about this, because I agree with everybody. I think that like this one still feels really good. It's so epic. The visuals are so good. And of course, we get to see something very, very similar later on in Drizzlewood at the culmination of the meta there. But it does feel like maybe they could make a little more, they can make it some consistency with that like hand or head targeting. Because with this one, you don't have like targeting specifically on the feet. So like it's just one giant target with the head and the feet, which is great from, you know, it's like, oh sure, yeah, that makes it easier in general. Yeah. But it is a little confusing because you were talking earlier, Kroof, about the visuals. I actually could see just fine for most of the fight in the swamp, like zoomed out fully, like I was okay with that. I have trouble getting his model in frame, Jormag. So like, I can't even see half the time if other than looking at the top, if I am targeting him or where my target is.
I don't know if I'm hitting there. Oh, I have no idea if I'm hitting right now. I don't see damage.
You can see if you still have him targeted, but like, you can't actually see the reticles. So they could make that a little bit more consistent with later fights where you're fighting both their feet and their head and stuff, but I don't think it's really necessary, you know?
The green. Well, I think if they're going to put the green AoE things on the floor as well, make that consistent across places. Just like if they're going to insert things early on or later, like have it as a consistent thing across the game, right?
Yeah, I don't think many bosses need overarching reworks in terms of their mechanics, though some of them could. I think in general, it just comes down to the power creep of early game, and just overall bosses needing to have a bit more health, or looking at how you downscale players in general, or if like you don't have a system of downscaling and it's something more akin to other MMOs that we see, like ESO, WoW, where it's a dynamic scaling range, where it doesn't really matter your level. That's always nice, but it could be a bit too complicated, and I think just addressing the health pools would be a much simpler,
early
more
game,
direct
these bosses,
fix.
Oh my god, Crave, do you remember? Like, they were just funny.
Oh yeah,
Everyone
like
was
back
just
in 2012. Everyone's like, I don't know what I'm doing, and they're like, it would fail. It never ever fails anymore. But
no, it was funny. Like it was just like everyone, like especially this boss specifically, it was just like, wow, everyone is dead.
Especially with so much damage. And back then, like healing sucked in the game's balance back then. I mean, you couldn't
Guardian,
heal for anything.
It was just like Guardian and maybe Ellie. That was it, really. I mean, there wasn't really anyone else. Like it wasn't really any big heal abilities for anyone like AoEs. A little bit, I think, for a ranger, just with the trap. But like, it was just there wasn't really anything. So they didn't really allow. It's funny that actually, I wonder if they just kept going without like having classes which do AoE healing. This game would be very difficult.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was watching.
No idea what just happened.
I was watching a lot of. Oh, Glenn's like, I don't.
Enjoyed Glenn.
I was throwing my daggers and feeling fabulous.
That's so good.
That's really what it's all about. That's
that
what
was
it's all
the
about.
truth of new player experience. Well, that's the thing. Isn't that the thing, though? Isn't that the point, though? Like in that
there
experience,
is a slight magic to it.
Isn't there is that experience? That's important and valid to point out, though, that Glenn just had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, actually didn't know what was happening, and many people do.
I was dying, and then like you said about escorting the golems, I'm like, okay, but then do I get rid of the spikes? Does that affect them? Do I have to kill these like champion monsters? Like the choice, I like the choice, but I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do? So I just was helping other people kill things. I'm like, okay, hopefully this is helping.
That's a good point.
You
I
were
mean, we were
helping.
talking about some of the changes in those other fights, right?
Yeah.
Having things like the invulnerability and then like that clear thing that pops up on your screen that's like, go break the portals, and like the clearly marked portals, or, you know, go attack these enemies, clearly marked enemies. I do think that's one thing about this fight. This fight feels pretty decent still as far as like packing a punch to some degree. But I think that is a good point. Like, how would you really know? Am I supposed to attack these spikes or not? Where am I supposed to stand to hit? Where am I supposed to, you know, those sorts of things.
I saw like cogwheels. I know that that's usually like an interaction, but I was like, what do these do? And I've usually never had whenever it was a cogwheel, it's always something different, and then I freak because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then also I play on controller, so I have to actually drop my controller, move my mouse over it. Okay, what does this do? Okay, and then grab my controller again and keep playing. But that's a me thing.
I do
that's
appreciate
definitely
that.
not like an overall
That
player
magic
thing.
though, because I've been having the same experience with 14 when I've done the raids for the first time, and I go in
yes.
there and I have no idea what any of the mechanics are. But after like doing the raid 4 or 5 times, I'm like, oh, that's the hide behind the object thing to prevent you from getting one shot. Okay,
It
so
doesn't
I
help
think
that
there-
those mechanics are also outdated, and like they haven't been like.
Ooh.
No, like it's truly like after a while with 14, the mechanics become more. What's the word, Brooke? Like standardize.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
What,
they
do you
have
mean
even
trivial
enforced-
as well? I mean, like they just
No.
then they're easy, or they're not. You don't, or you just
Well-
kind of everyone knows kind of thing. Or?
No, so it's kind of like what they're doing right now in Guild Wars 2, right? That when they started the game, they didn't fully know all of these are the tells, these are the indicators, these are the markers,
Oh.
these are the things that we are going to use as the absolute fundamental basis of our language in this game long term, to have markers be visibly recognizable in a second and for players to know how to respond. So when they first started the game, it was a little bit messier. There were a lot of like indicators that just did not actually really get used, or that later changed to completely different indicators. And so they've been having to go through in the game now and like retroactively fix some of those bosses, or like update some old content to try and make some of the indicators something that, you know, like, oh, hey, down the road we use this marker for this, so let's just put this in across the board. There's still some things that they need to still update, but I mean, every MMO will kind of have that, where over just the years of experimentation and iteration and mechanical stuff, like how they build fights or how they communicate with those fights changes. Is that what you sort of meant, Glenn, or?
Yeah, because like there's specifically like a dungeon where like a marker above your head everywhere else means get away, but for this one specifically, it means you need to stack up. And everybody, people will forget. Even veteran players will forget because it's so niche, and then they'll run away and then they'll die. And
Oh, okay.
Yep.
so that's what I mean. Like
Literally the same marker. It's the same marker, but they use it in the opposite way in the early content.
and we have a new marker with a different color, which we never see ever again, and that's to get away. But like, it's blue, so you think it's like good.
Yeah, having a key to your game, a table of very common visuals and indicators is extremely important. And I think that is one thing that Guild Wars 2 could probably work on with the early game. Of course, seeing with the bosses, that's actually a lot better. But yeah, it's always funny, like, when you're like, oh, for years of this game's lifetime, you're like, there is no indicator to this at all. And you're like, oh, I guess I'll just have to figure it out by error. Or it's like, this indicator is never used again. Like,
Trial by
what is
fire,
this for?
yeah.
That's fun.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, Kroof. That was not cash money of me.
How dare you? That's cash bankruptcy alone.
None of us are cash money. We are all excitable.
for yourself.
We're all just debt.
Yes, loans.
That's why Jebro left, because
He's like, oh,
really
Americans.
I was like, wow, American.
Yeah. So this is going to be another one that was redesigned. This is the
Yes.
fire elemental, right?
Different mechanic, not a different visual, but different, or more so updated mechanics. I think that this one is probably the most new player friendly because it's dangerous, but there aren't many mechanics like with the behemoth or the jungle worm. It's team hot and dangerous, a little spicy, literally.
Literally.
Yeah, this
Hey.
one I have always heard referred to in the community as your first, like baby's first world boss.
Wait, which one? This one?
Mm.
Oh, I thought it was the behemoth. That was my
Behemoth
first one.
probably because more people play human rather than Asura.
I played
But
Nord.
this one,
And I ended up
played
with a
so
bit. That was
hard.
I
weird,
didn't
right?
ask.
Literally the first thing I ever saw.
did I ask Jebro? Did I ask?
Well,
I
yes,
don't remember.
you
I
should
did.
care. You should care
Well,
so much. Well, that's weird because but I knew, but in beta, like it was like Behemoth was the first, like everyone would just go there
And
because they heard
alphas and
about it.
betas.
Yeah. Like, and they advertised it. It was like that was the big advertisement, wasn't it? If you go and look at the Guild Wars 2 trailer, I think that's still the first main one. But yeah, like for so many people, this was one of the first ones as well because it's in the Asura base zone, right? It's in the first zone. Yeah, 1 to 15 metric progress. So yeah, it's definitely one of the first ones. It was very underwhelming when you first saw it. I think it's maybe because the Behemoth is just more memorable than this one for me. Like, that I can
And there are
remember.
more mechanics to the others,
the
and
screen.
Yeah.
I think
True.
they've kept the essence of this fight where they haven't added a plethora of new things. I think this one is perfectly still new player specific.
Right.
So
okay.
I think it holds that title still.
Okay. Is it the so the model hasn't changed for this?
No, the model's the
No.
same.
Because if it's a fire elemental, they'd have to change all the models for all fire elementals, right? I guess.
Well, there are fire. This one's This one is like the only fire elemental of its kind in the game,
Oh,
from
okay.
my understanding, because it's just like a giant ball spirit thing.
A ball spirit. Oh wow.
Ball spirit.
Cool. A ball spirit.
You know.
It's
How
just
does a
spirit
ball
balls.
spirit
High
work
ball.
then, Creve?
A little bit of fondling and.
Thank you.
You know, if you
went
give it
the
enough
exact way I was
attention-
hoping you would go.
If you give it enough attention, it will come out. So.
Okay, that the edge was the edge would but that's fine. I mean that works. So you have to finesse it
Yeah.
to gain traction.
You were all telling me I was being such a spicy boy. before
Yeah.
Stream started,
that's right.
and now look at all of you.
I said
Now
ball.
what are
I
you
was thinking
talking
like
about?
racquetball.
Excuse
I was
you.
thinking tennis ball, tetherball.
Sure, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, Kroof, clearly.
Called
Because
out there.
that's what you do with tetherball, you fondle it.
I was an aggressive tetherball player. I was out for blood back in elementary school.
Oh, is that
The
the
fondling?
post in the? No, I think we're talking about tetherball now, Glenn.
No, isn't that what Kroof said? Tetherball?
yeah,
Like, if you-
tetherball.
Wait,
Like,
but is there fondling in tetherball?
No, because that's what Kroof was saying. You fondle it, so I'm assuming. Okay, so you
No,
fondle
you
it
just
to like
slap. You just slap the
increase
balls a
the
lot.
acceleration.
You just slap the big ball around
and
the
then when you
pole.
slap it, then that's when like it fully like a knockout.
That game
Yeah.
is way more erotic than I gave it credit for, but you know, here we are.
I mean, some people just like slapping balls. They find it enjoyable and fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
There's
not
a lot of
yuck.
sports
Someone's yum.
based around
That's
those
true.
sorts of things. So
That's so
Throwing it,
true.
tossing it, catching it, tucking
So
it, you
true,
know.
though. So true. We're on one. It didn't take. It took us almost 2 hours to get there.
We are
honestly,
on
I
one,
mean,
yeah.
we've like it took us a while. Normally, it's a lot earlier. Honestly,
I'm genuinely proud of us. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I didn't even
Milestones.
know
Damn.
what I was like. What
Our
happened
stamina.
today?
Because as a new player,
Yeah. How do you feel about the mention of anyway? Okay, so
I mean,
let's
what
think.
else are we supposed to do during this pre-event? This is
Yeah,
a
I
10-minute
know,
pre-event.
This is true.
I just maybe the one thing is like the pre-events could have been shortened a little bit. Just
what do we have to do for this one?
You
This one is a
escort a
little weird.
gun.
Oh god. I fell down and now I'm killing oozes. Oh, these are
Oh
the.
no.
There's toxic oozes down here. I could have killed these for my hope. Oh, I can tell you one thing. I'm literally finished hope, but I haven't put it in the forge yet. So I'm doing that on stream this weekend, probably. So
Nice.
it's that if you haven't done Gen 2 legendaries, they're the gold. I love PvP in this game, even though it's pretty bad at the moment. But like, I have been playing the game. I feel like I'm back at launch. Like, it's those fun experiences
Ooh.
where you're just like getting these brand new experiences of the game again. Like, oh my god, please, if you haven't done Gen 2, do the achievements. Just do the achievements. Don't. And when you get to the crafting the things, do it slowly, whenever. But damn, like the amount of story and stuff, like it was proper immersive. It was wicked. In fact, I've never had that journey to create a weapon before. It's so good, and I completely understand how there's no way they could have replicated that again and again and again, because it is so long and there is so much
timely
to
manner.
it. Oh, there's no way, Criff. There is no way they could do that. They would have needed a team to be on that permanently.
Yeah.
Like there is no possible way. And I respect. I think at the time people were so disappointed and there was a little bit of rage and whatever. But when you've done it, you understand. You're just like, no, because it took a long time to do this, let alone flipping, well, you know, create it. Because you're going back into so much of the old game as well. And you're getting so many different currencies together. You're constructing these guns. You're proving to this person that you can, you know, craft things so that they give you plans to do more. You create concoctions. You feel like an alchemist when you're creating Hope as well, which is a pistol. It's so good. So good. Yeah, try and do it. I'm going to finish that this week. Then I've got pistol, then a shield time. Yeah.
So with legendaries, are you able to just pick whichever you want to do? Like, you don't have to do like a Gen 1.
You don't have to do the one that's... Yeah, no. You can do whatever. As long as you've got access to... Like, you can't do the half... You can't do Gen 2 if you don't have half ones. You can't do Orin if you don't have the expansion. So the what, you know, because you need to go there and do the story for specific parts.
Okay.
The gen portion of the name just refers to, like, Generation 1 is just like the first batch that came out. So kind of like how in 14 you might say like Heavensward relic weapons. That's just what they mean, as opposed to it being something like you have to literally make every generation to make the next generation. Like they're all just independent, and you can make them for each portion of the.
They're like cars. You can buy the 2006 model or the 2023 model.
If I knew anything about cars, that'd be helpful. But thank you.
I mean, ditto. That's all I know. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Gen 2 is more of a specific journey compared to the others. So, but they did bring in that you can craft precursors now for the Gen 1 weapons. The thing is that it actually costs you more to craft them than it does to buy them off the trading post. Only problem with that. But also you go for a little journey, I guess, of getting things together. I don't know what the Gen 1 precursor crafting, if the achievements are good or whatever, but it's probably worth paying the extra 20-30 gold just to have that done.
I feel like that's been my initial experience with crafting. It feels like a lot of things I'm like, oh, let me try crafting this, like, ends up just being cheaper on the post. Like,
sometimes. It really depends on the currency that is involved in it. Like, if you need...
So I'm like, how do I learn crafting then? Like,
I'm not a fan of crafting.
If you want to get to crafting level like 500 for Ascended stuff, there's really, really good websites where you can plug in your API and you can just do it in a really, really quick way.
I use those to get to 400, but I haven't looked into 500 yet.
Do you use Guild Wars 2 efficiency?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the best ones. Yeah.
Perfect. That's all you need.
Yeah, there's another site as well that used to be pretty good. I can't remember what it's called, but like there's so many ways.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really outdated.
Just outdated. Yeah.
I tried using it. I ended up using it like years later. It was very outdated.
I think we're probably talking about the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, certain things were no longer in the game, and then I had to go down a specific path and then I was like, people told me that you could use Guild Wars 2 efficiency and it's all up to date, and I was like, oh, well, I'm already at 500, so you know.
No. Guild Wars 2 efficiency is good for most of that stuff. It's like, it's especially any weapon, and when you look at the one thing I really love about that is like when you use your own materials and you're like, and you don't, and then you switch that button on, you're like, use your own materials, and like, yeah, I've saved myself like 1,000 gold, and I can actually make this. Like, I found out that Juggernaut's gonna cut, not Juggernaut, Prophecies, Flame Seeker Prophecy Shield is gonna cost me like 500 gold to craft. I was like, yeah, I'm getting that one because that's cheaper. Like, some of the tools that community have produced for Guild Wars 2 are really good, even though they're not overlays or mods or whatever. There's still some good stuff out there. API wise, they've been creative for sure. So if you ever need to craft anything, anyone, we're talking about, we're off topic, but we're creating conversation. Check out Guild Wars 2 efficiency. I'm not sponsored by them, But they're good. They're
When's
good
that
picks.
sponsorship money gonna
There was
drop?
some money
Efficiency.
gonna drop.
Yeah, get like $1 every mention. Just
You
gonna
know
That's
what?
actually a pretty good
I would have
deal,
a 4-hour
wow.
stream of me just saying Guild Wars 2 efficiency, Guild Wars 2 efficiency. I'm gonna pay my rent.
with
Have you heard about Guild
nasal.
Wars 2 efficiency?
Personal-
Have you ever felt like you wanted to be efficient in Guild Wars 2? Well, guess what? There's a website where your efficiency with Guild Wars 2 can really like get up to a really good efficiency in Guild Wars 2. Like when
You
you
sure
Guild Wars
to
2
use Guild Wars 2
efficiency.com.
That was pretty good. If they want to clip that and use it, it will cost money. Oh, here we go. Yes, the ball. Oh, it is very ball-like,
Hi.
isn't it? Yeah.
I told you.
That is more ball-like than I realized.
It's a big one, big.
It looks like a
One
big
big
Eye of
fireball.
Sauron cheap version.
It's like if an aerosol
Mom,
bottle
can we go get the
exploded.
Eye of Sauron? We have the Eye of Sauron at home. The Eye of Sauron at home.
We got the cheap like brand version.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you like spray hairspray and then use a flamethrower.
Yes.
Accurate.
Oh my god.
Accurate.
I know what you're talking about from a long time ago because I used to use hairspray like an absolute beast.
Really?
I used to have some.
Really long time ago.
Yeah, that
like
was
a very
more than
long time.
that's about half my life ago, honestly.
So the game just gave me a notice saying, jump over the shockwave. You've been hit by an expanding shockwave attack. To avoid these, jump over the shockwave when it reaches your character.
Ooh,
Wait, where was that?
Tutorialization. You have to get hit by the meteor shockwave.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And I can never see it.
This
There-
one. Oh, that's
Yeah.
oh, so that's the
Where?
mechanic from where I'm standing. Oh yeah, jump over the
there it is.
shockwave.
Jump over the shockwave.
Whoa.
Hey.
But that's the mechanic
Mario.
from the Primordus Jormag fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
these shockwaves.
I know
It's
it's
in that
loads of stuff.
fractal. The
Oh,
fractal
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
released most recently as well with the like fire creature.
Yeah, these
Which I still
shockwaves
want.
I
were.
like your names for things today,
yes.
Rook. The
It
fire
is such
creature.
a good one. Yeah, these came in during
rock
the fire,
guy.
where shockwaves and meteors were much more a thing with Balthazar, and the Hydra as well.
Oh, this
That's
is
pretty
so
cool. That is good. Yeah, that's updated. I like that.
And that Telegraph was like really good. I like that.
Yeah, you get to see that soon in the game. There's more of those. That's good that they're bringing those in. Lovely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
Honestly, they should probably do that for like a lot of mechanics throughout most of like the core story in Living World Season 1 and 2 because it's very in your face. They get very annoying when it's like your weapon doesn't have like a specialization. Like it's in my face. I can't avoid it, so I have to learn it.
I wish there was achievements for these, like dodging the thing, dodging the wave. They should have
would be
brought in
nice, yeah.
achievements with these bosses. That would have been cool. That's one thing where I'm like, oh, there could have been achievements here. It's like this episode, the latest episode. No spoilers, but they could have done a few more achievements than that as well. Ooh. Although maybe they're not doing
Alright.
achievements anymore. Maybe they're just going to do quests. Who knows?
That would be nice.
I mean, that would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, there you go. There's a question while we go to the next one. Actually, have we done all the new modeled ones?
We did all 4.
Yeah,
We
okay.
did. We
can
did.
still keep going on the bosses.
I have like no backspace on
Unless-
this character. I don't know what to do.
Salvage and deposit materials.
Welcome to Inventory Wars.
Oh god, I am not looking
There's a
great
bunch of stuff
myself.
that's already like full in my material storage, so I'm just like I have to sell it.
Which one do you want to do? Oh, not Drakkar. Oh no, yeah, we do Admiral
Tida.
Taida. Sorry, I can't read.
I don't. Who? Who is this? What is this one?
Admiral
Tida
Taida.
Covington and Blood Tide
This is
Coast.
the pirate place, isn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've done this one. I'm trying to remember what this one's
They're
called.
One of the
legendary, right?
more. It's one of the more. Yeah, it's one of the more. It's annoying to find sometimes. Like I actually can't remember where it is here. Like it's in this place. Oh no, actually the boss
Yeah,
comes
it starts
out.
at the
It's
gate,
preview,
and
yeah.
then you have to go and find her within the
Yeah.
pirate fortress.
And she's on a boat,
Oh,
right?
the invincible door. Oh, okay. I got you.
Is she on a boat?
She
Yes,
on
but
boat
on a boat on land.
This is like what Lion's Arch kind of looked like, the old Lion's Arch, but a bit better than this. But the same kind of style. I guess they used a lot of ships and A lot of the boats are going out to Lion's Arch and that were wrecked, and they just created a base.
Now
I
I
remember
wonder.
coming across
Oh, go
this
ahead.
on stream once, and I was like, "What is this?" And it was great. My computer crashed, but
Oh no!
we got back into it, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Were you doing the boss?
Same.
Yeah, because and there were so many people, and people in my chat that had never played Ghost 2 was like, "What is going on? Why are there so many people?" I'm like, "I don't know, but we're killing a pirate that's like a legendary." and
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is the case where
we
like
go.
you have a human model as a boss, where it's like, oh, if they just increase the size of it, it would probably help out a lot.
Yeah, I'll just give it some
Because it gets
transform or
wallowed
something.
by effects and people.
I think she was pretty tall, to be honest.
Or
when
make it a
when I
Norn.
did-
I just make it a
Just make
Norn.
everyone a Norn.
Yeah, I don't know. This is an actual
was
event
gonna-
though. It's good. Sorry.
I was going to ask if we think that they are going to go through and touch up the rest of the world bosses, or if this was just like these are the ones from core game. I should specify, or if we just thought that these were the ones that they were like, oh, these are the ones that we're gonna do. These are the most important ones. We'll redo these, but obviously there are still a lot of other things they're preparing for Steam. So I don't know. Do we think they might touch up the others? Do you think?
Have they said they were? I think this. Did they insinuate they were?
I mean, they
I
didn't say
don't-
that they wouldn't, but they didn't say that they were committing to it. So I think depends on the community reaction, kind of, and you know they always go back and update things. It just more so comes down to when can they find the time to do so and the resources. I personally don't think that it needs to be necessarily as extensive as this, but as we were mentioning before, I think that having the health disparity, because when you go from the starting bosses, you're like, oh, that was a fight that I felt like I was spending time in, to higher level fights, and you're like, well, I just killed that in 2 minutes. I was like, so I think that it should just overall feel more akin to the duration of these, you know, more modern fights.
I like this, but this event is actually pretty cool because you have to get the bombs from over here, which I can't interact with apparently, and take them over to the gate and destroy the wall. Can you actually kill the door as well without it?
Curious.
I can't remember. Why
I'm
isn't
gonna
it-
try using Siege Turtle, because I don't know. I wonder if you can use Siege Turtle on this gate.
That is a good idea, actually.
Can you?
But yeah, other than like updates, there is one aspect where I would want them to actually put in a new world boss.
Oh, okay.
And this would be for the char starting area, because each race has a world boss in their starting area except the char.
Yeah.
And I think with the idea of the ghosts, the harpies, or like the flame legion slash the bandits, I think it could maybe be interesting to have a char world boss for the char starting zone.
That's true. They do actually
I
need
actually
that.
do. I love that idea, and they could even foreshadow some of the stuff if they wanted to with the Primordus Jormag kind of division. If we wanted to get something there with a little bit of a Primordus moment, or you know, or have something even with like the different char factions and information on that, that would be a really good idea actually, because you're right, that is one of the only starting races that doesn't have one kind of in their zone that gives a little bit of extra
That's weird.
connotation, because like all of the other world bosses I think illustrate something about that race of people,
Yeah.
and or the struggles that they have been up against, or in the case of the Asura, right, I think almost the
Technology.
the
trepidation of their
uncontrollable
own
tech,
technology,
yeah,
and like the fact that they themselves, you know, oftentimes lose control or don't know where to draw those lines with science and experimentation. You see like the Jormag struggle with the Norn. You see the long-term struggle with the Centaur for humans. So I do feel like there could be something interesting, or even something with Ascalon and giving a
think
little bit of
Ascalon,
that.
Yeah.
Could be
Well, because we
interesting.
have that in
definitely.
the char starting zone, you have, or the starting instance, you have that construct that is so cinematic and so elegantly crafted. And I'm like, I honestly wouldn't mind if they just reused that fight,
Same.
but put it in a different location, because there's like the
Yeah.
top right portion of the char starting zone that is like riddled with ghosts, and there's this kind of like half arena that's gated behind, and you can't really go over it unless you have a mount. So I'm like, there are locales within the first char map where I'm like, oh, you could actually just have like a giant ghost boss there that you just have to fight.
I think they would fit pretty well. Yeah, just because of the hue, because it's such a big theme for the map. as
Yeah,
well,
and I think
honestly.
meta events and world bosses in general, that idea of telling the map's story, because heart quests, they have story, but they're often disjointed and more localized to that area, where modern Guild Wars 2 meta events tell a really beautiful narrative at times, and having that reflected in early game, that's something that really grips people in the current zones.
I'm getting annoyed that I can't pick up more than one barrel.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
You should be able to put a barrel on your mech, and then your mech should go and do
That would be
it.
fun.
I'm confused. One of the cogwheels, I'm assuming it tells me to get a keg, but like it's not working.
So
like,
you
I'm
can, it's so the event is there's like a pace to it, because otherwise it would just go really quick. They just respawn every so often. If you go to a different cog, you'll get one from there. Should be able to.
Yeah. So like one location runs out of powder kegs and they have to respawn after a certain amount of time.
Like get restocked or
interesting.
something.
I wonder
but
if they
yeah,
can like just take that icon off until it does respawn, maybe.
Yeah.
that would be cool. It's a bit
So
annoying.
I'm like
yeah.
sitting here not thinking that my button is like
It's
broken.
not working.
Yeah, I was like, am I clicking the wrong thing? And I forgot about that. There's a lot of people here though.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've got people from the stream in here, but this is not like, everyone that's here.
They just heard word and they had to come running.
Yeah, they're like, oh, the LightBringers are here. I see, yeah, I've run out, so I have to go over somewhere else. Is there one more place? Oh, no, there's only two. Oh, no, there's one place up here. There we go. Whee. All the emotions. Actually, if you go to all more, it looks like you can just kind of start to respawn pretty nicely. Forget that you can mount as well during this. That's the problem, right? Because you can mount between, so they probably like timed it so that you're just running, or you've got swiftness, so you would be okay. But mounting is like, oh, you're a little bit quicker now, so.
Especially when you pick it up, mount, leap over to the door,
Yeah.
mount up, leap back. It's like you cut down so much time.
That's true.
For the longest time, I thought if you mounted, you would lose the item. I don't know why. That's just.
Oh, I still
that
think
makes
I
sense.
still
That
think
makes
that.
sense.
That's fair. I thought that too. Yeah.
I still think that sometimes, and I forget. Like I'm literally doing it now. Although I think I'm
And then I
just
see
role
people
playing.
mount and like, what?
I'm just role playing though. When I'm.
I did want to say, because I just saw Brikelli here. Brikelli did some super cute little like pixel art of the
yeah.
like main Lightbringers host lineup, and I just loved it. You gave me such a huge smile this morning. Thank you so much, friend.
Let me.
So cool.
Let me see if I can.
Pull it up.
I will have.
Whip it out.
Whip it
Ooh.
out.
I have to do something. quick.
Things really went downhill fast in the family
Oh, whoops.
friendly non-innuendo department today, huh?
I mean, now I just kind of think it's
I
normal.
just wanted to see pixels and y'all are talking about whipping.
Well, that's normally Rook who's talking about the whip. That's their choice of weapon to be inserted in the game.
gosh.
No, not whipping.
I would love a whip
Honestly,
weapon.
yes.
They could do it. I mean, honestly, with Bladesworn, because they like made a
We're going
totally
there,
new
that's
weapon with the gun saber. They could make a totally new weapon for a profession mechanic and give it a whip.
What if they made like a hand-to-hand?
Man.
Like you just punch the shit.
No,
out
that'd
of
be like
thing.
dual focus. Because focus could have like melee brawler skins to them.
True.
Should I tell
I
you
love
what?
it.
Should I tell you what? You know when a show is starting to have impact, when you start getting fan art for a podcast, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Very cool.
You're a
It's so-
legend.
it
Thanks so much. I'm gonna share the
makes me
stream.
so happy.
They need to make Miss Covington a little bit taller.
They do. She's so small. And again, like you said, Krupp, I honestly think if they even just, scaled her model up, I think that would already be an improvement in like kind of making you feel like, oh yeah, this is actually like a cool thing that we're doing. This is on par with world bosses.
Sorry, I'll put it on the wall. Sorry, peeps.
I must have been thinking of another pirate boss because like I feel like the one that I fought, like they were much bigger. Like they actually were like, or maybe it is this one. I don't know. We'll see.
It's cool though. I love that. Yeah, no, I think sometimes it spawns in a different place. Oh no, this
art
is the
is so
bit.
good.
This is the bit when where you probably were like you came in, because a lot of the time people come into this point when they're hiding somewhere, and I always lose where they are.
She went to hide.
I don't know.
didn't
She
even-
runs away. I don't
coward?
know.
Yeah, she
Oh,
goes and
there-
hides. And,
There is a piece of dialogue where she says, "You want to kill me, you'll have to find me first."
It's annoying.
Do I like really actively see that in my face where like that
No.
dialogue line with like a little portrait of her appears in the middle of the screen and then I get the new objective like search for Admiral Taida throughout the strongholds? No.
It took me a
That
while
needs
to
a
get
little
that.
polish.
I think like
Needs a
it
little
may have
update.
taken a couple of years for me to understand that that's actually what happened. We have to go down here as far as I remember.
yeah, there's a little route. Once you do it like the first couple
There
times,
she is.
you just follow the herd for the
Oh,
most part.
it's not like random where she spawns?
I don't
No, there are
think so.
two specific
Oh.
locations, but it's
That'd be
like the
fun.
first time doing it. You're like, okay, what the hell
You
is
just
she?
ruined Rook's day.
Oh
Like, Rook just lied.
It would be nice if it was a bit more randomized.
Yeah.
Well, like,
sure.
to me, that would be kind of like a fun little moment where if you want a different interlude in a fight, right? And then somebody has to find her, and then you see, like, so-and-so found her, go help, rally support or whatever. Like, that would be really a kind of fun little...
That feels very much like the doppelganger
Yeah.
meta, which I didn't understand until like a few nights ago. I was like, oh my god, we gotta actually chase after them. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that doppelganger meta. If only Path of Fire metas were a little bit better. Because they were actually like really good designs.
Hardly ever play Path of Fire ones. There you go. That boss is dead. Okay.
It's
Ow.
interesting, too. She talks so much about Grenth. This would also be kind of an interesting opportunity to actually see her, like, I don't know, do a little something with, like, Grenth magic or... I don't know, have a little bit more of that tie of the 12 in. This is one out of all of the ones that we've done today, including the ones that haven't been touched up. This is one that I feel like could probably use an overhaul if they wanted to include it in maybe not even like a full overhaul, but if they wanted this to be in that lineup of world bosses, and I mean, it's all here. To me, it seems like this would be a great spot to, I don't know, kind of rework a little bit of that, because otherwise it just sort of feels like, I don't know, we just did a little mini event as opposed to like a
world boss.
world boss kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
that's true.
increasing her size would kind of present issues with the inside when you have to go and find her and her
Yeah.
model, but you
How
could,
does she
you could just like
actually get in here?
you could rework that idea where like she's more so on the outside of the structure and all of that, but there could be some slight just tweaks, but I don't think they really need to do anything mechanically for the most part.
Cool. Okay. Was that it? Wait, there's another event kicking off.
We've
Me trying
cycled
to
back
bonus hero
to
points.
the jungle worm.
we're back. Back
Okay,
to the
well,
beginning.
I guess that might actually be a good point to kind of. We don't
Wrap up
the,
thoughts?
the show doesn't have to be 3 hours every time. Like world bosses is a bit of a
Contractually
small.
obligated
Like,
for a 3-hour time slot.
I mean, yeah, it's been exactly 2 hours. Is there anything else from the patch that was massively important? I mean, episode 1 was
raid
big.
currencies.
Raid currencies? Oh yeah, they changed that.
Yeah.
Just a bit more streamlining. I like that there's still attention to raiding, which gives me hope. Very, very small glimmer of hope.
Well, emboldened
Well-
mode is good as well.
Yes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I do think, right, that the success of our strike missions, right? Like, again, we talked about this not too long ago, but the idea that while they haven't confirmed anything, even though many of us would like to hear something about the plans for raids, I do think that given the success, the positive reception of those strikes, I think, very effective and very good designs and combat designs and fight designs and mechanical things that they've been doing recently, even these reworks, right? I feel like our content team in those regards has really been able to just hone in and really push some of the boundaries, and even from some of that early strike mission experimentation, kind of hone in on a difficulty range and perfect a little bit more of that with some great community feedback. So to me right now, I feel like we are in a really good place, especially with all the other prep and work that they've been doing with trying to make raiding more accessible for them to choose to invest in another raid wing and maybe even see more people than ever participating in it. But we won't know until we know, you know?
So true.
You know?
It's
You know?
I mean, I think
You know.
it's weird because like they have to really still. Raids are an important part of the game still. They always will be because they're tied to the to legendary armor, so they're kind of there forever. I think they just have to make that content more accessible, and if because of Embolden and everything else, they feel like, yeah, this is cool, and maybe people want to raid, maybe they'll make something in the future. I've always been of like, you know, what my stance is, there's no way they're going to do it, but I think if they see a positive response to it, and they see like just it suddenly jump up, they might invest the time. But I think strikes, like you said, they're kind of just easier to make, they're easier to build, I can chuck them out more. Hopefully, I think it's a good way for them to engage and just bring more of the core game up to an area where you can engage in that more, and you can go back into zones and like you gain access to these strikes and newer play. I think they're going to bring in low-level strike. I think low-level strikes would be cool actually as well, but then instead of dungeons. But that's just a different discussion and an idea, random thought. Was there anything else from that patch? I don't think there was, right?
Just some slight nerfs to Will Banter in PvP.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
good, because it needed it.
The way you strained yourself just to say that.
It was way overpowered. It was like not
No,
dying.
I like it. I think
Of course
Guardian
you
needs
did.
more reworks.
Oh, right.
Not
Oh, you
ju-
mean?
I'm not saying
oh,
nerfs.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm not saying nerfs. I'm saying like reworks in general. Because
Yeah.
like as a Guardian player, I'm gonna say it. I have not received a major rework to the class in what feels like 5 or 6 years. When I see like other classes always getting like, maybe not like huge revamps, but they'll adjust the way things work and function to bring it more freshness. And Guardian
fair.
is just like, it's super powerful, so we're not touching it. But I'm like, but it feels so old and
I
stale.
don't know. Guardian kind of works. Guardian is like
works.
Old Faithful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Old Faithful's getting a little old.
That's why it's called Old Faithful, like, because it's old and trustworthy and reliable.
Just like a little makeover, why not?
Just a little,
Yeah.
But
little
you play,
touch-up.
if you play Mesmer and stuff, then you know it's pretty unique. You know, play Mesmer for a bit.
I play a lot of classes. Doesn't mean I don't love Guardian.
That's true. I know. You are a Guardian player, though. I get it. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like I understand that because rifle, just that change to rifle has literally given me 3 fresh brand new builds that have just rejuvenated like the build part of my YouTube channel, because that's all it was, and I was always trying to find different builds, and now I've got so many different builds just based about rifle. There's scrapper rifle, you know, core rifle, core engineer rifle, and you've got world v world PvP. So there's like tons of content I can create just around this one thing, one change with the rifle. So I get it. Yeah, just one change like that, a simple change, can be really effective. Should I tell you what the big change that I can remember the most about Guardian, and this happened maybe 2014, the staff projectile on the one ability, when it would change from the loot stick, because it was a loot stick. So basically the one ability on Guardian on staff was just you doing this, and then it was just like this conal AoE that just came out, and in World v World, people would just have this stick, and they'd just be doing that. And then I just hit one, like get that loot. That was just called the loot stick. And in anything you did, which is funny. And then they changed it to this projectile, which you could...
That was, I think, in 2017.
Oh,
Because they
it
didn't even
wasn't-
change it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it wasn't. They kept the cone, but they reduced the range to 300. So staff became a melee weapon that had all their other abilities max range. So it was a weird design. It was not great. And then they eventually changed it into projectile, which was so much better.
Yeah. That's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all.
But
That was
yeah,
it.
I think honestly, it's funny. We were going, was that all that came with the patch? But I mean, a lot
It
of
was a lot,
stuff came
yeah.
with this patch, including all of the actual new episode and content from that. I haven't had a chance to play through that yet, but from just the world boss stuff that we did today, I honestly adore these changes. I think it feels even more needed now that I've experienced them, right? Because you kind of get used to the way things are. And of course, I was really excited when I heard that they were updating these, but I also, have really fond memories of doing them. But having now gone through and played them, I'm like, oh, yes, yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, this is going to be such a better experience for players. It really does feel like there's a little more to dig into with them. I do think my favorite is still probably the shaman. But it is
Yeah, that
kind
was a
of
fantastic
difficult.
model. That was a cool
Yeah.
model. I would like to have
But-
more of those models for me to play with. Honestly, I really want to role play as like one of like Prime Mortis's or like
Ooh.
anyone's flipping like, you know, minion. It's, you know, when the Sylvari got taken over, like, you know, when some of the Sylvari were unsure about themselves and stuff, at that point in time during Heart of Thorns, I was like, I want a skin so that I can be one of Mordremoth's like minions. You know what I mean? Like that change would have been so cool if you could have reskinned and just like, you know, I would love that.
Character
some of that.
customization updates. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's right. Oh, damn, we didn't even talk about that last time. We did a podcast about stuff we want to change, and like that's not even something we talked about.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we always miss stuff, but there's so much to talk about.
We could add it. I mean, there are so many things. I even think there's something to be said about them adding various like relevant story or collection outfits, right, that allow you to kind of play like that. Like when you hit that story beat as a Sylvari, you could choose to get the like, you know, corrupted Sylvari outfit or cosmetic that would like change how you look, and have that for your Sylvari characters. Or when you become officially Orion's champion and you see what all the other champions are like, getting some kind of cosmetic that makes you look just as magically altered as like the other champions. Those sorts of things I think they could definitely add in to enhance for cosmetics. But yeah, with just these world bosses and things, I think these redesigns are really cool. And I saw in chat the mention as well of the fractal instability changes, which I have not had a chance to try yet. I don't know. Yeah.
Chill out. Yeah, that's good. Oh, you mean switch between?
Yeah.
At the
So you could
moment,
have both.
yeah. I mean that's definitely a change that a lot of games could do. Honestly, I think that's just not calling them male, female, and just being like base it on shape and body features specifically, I suppose. Like, and not having that. I think that's
Body type 1, body type 2.
Yeah, there are some games that do that. New World, I think New World does
WoW
that.
is actually doing it.
Oh, really?
Really?
Which is,
that's
changed.
People have actually called because they've had so many concerns. It's good to see that they're trying to fix a lot of what the problems are. Honestly, like, good. Fucking just start doing that shit. Get it going. It's about time. But yeah,
Make
I think
a game
I
that
would
players want to play, and not that they have to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be good to see that in Guild Wars 2 specifically. They'll probably catch some flack from peeps, but I think, you know, being 10 years old, I think it's just part of the time period where the game came from. I think something future-wise, I don't know how they word it actually when you create characters, if it's female or male, or if it's just body type specifically. I can't remember.
I would love it because Guild Wars 2 is one of the only games that I play right now that canonically has a character that uses they them pronouns in the actual game. So
true.
it does feel like a really natural evolution in Guild Wars 2 specifically. I mean, all games I think should just have options to be able to pick whatever pronouns you want for whatever body type. Even if you just like the aesthetic of whatever other body type more, right? I would love that, but yeah, especially in Guild Wars 2, it does feel like something that
It is female,
it's just
male,
already would
blatant.
be so supported.
Yeah, it's not even got like, you know, it could be body type there. They wouldn't have to have male, female. Although for Asura, it's, you know, if you are stuck in you know, the female maleness of the world, might need to update that view, everyone. But like if you're stuck there, that's everyone's journey. Then I guess with Asuras that would be hard to denote, I suppose. Not that I'm defending that's what that should be. But yeah, I definitely feel like that. I don't feel like these screens need to be updated. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on to another podcast here. I'm just interested in it. Always interested. It's been a big conversation on Twitter today as well, so it's very much in my head. Okay, cool. Sorry, I really like the character creation screens. I think they're so good.
It's so good, and we
so
never
good.
really see it.
Uh,
It's very pretty. It's very pretty.
I do love it so much because like it's just the artwork, and when you click on one race, there's just nothing like it. There's just nothing as good as this really when you create a character.
the
I wish we had more
transitions.
aesthetics like that.
Yeah, the transitions.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. But then it's dated. You get to the character model with all of the artwork, and it feels a little bit better. When you get to that point, I'm just like, okay, yeah. I would like to see. It would be better if you showed them with end game or legendary armor, but hey ho. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Well, that is a really cool thing. We've seen a lot of other MMOs where, right, like you can toggle, you can see your like starter gear, or then you can see, you know, your legendary look that you'll get later, your class gear. Yeah.
Yeah, because these are just standard kind of.
Speaking of class gear, Generation 2 legendary armor, next expansion, I would love some class gear.
All right,
man.
we are on a totally different podcast.
Yes.
Here. We don't know what to do when we have a 2-hour
I know, we're like,
We're like, this is
I have
wrong. Let's
many
add more
subjects.
stuff.
Well, actually, chat because I've been completely ignoring you the whole time, like I normally do during the podcast. If you have any ideas or themes or topics you would like us to discuss, start throwing them out. I can note some plans down, but we're going to end pretty shortly. There is next week we're going to probably likely going to talk about episode 3. What I was thinking was as well, we could potentially play through it as we're doing it and react to things, or we can try and remember what was happening on. We can have footage from all of us as well, which is fine and works. So if you have any thoughts about that stream and you'd like us to comment on it as it's happening, that could be quite cool, because there might be some details we missed. It wasn't too long, so it's definitely doable. But yeah, that's what we're going to do next week. We will start to talk about the End of Dragon story. I actually genuinely think it might be fun to play that as a group and do it. It could be interesting, but it's quite long, and it has been a while. Yes, I am losing the details of that, and there's definitely going to be some intricacies that I have forgotten. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, or even if you're live, watching on YouTube, listening in places where you might be able to comment. Maybe I'll see them, hopefully. But yeah, give us some information, give us some feedback. Also go down to the right-hand side, the bottom right-hand side, click like, okay? Comment and subscribe. I should have said that at the beginning. Apparently, if you do that, people actually do it. And that's actually a literal thing that I've started to do recently, and I've actually started to like videos more. So you have to say it, otherwise people won't do it.
And don't forget to hit that bell notification, and now when another episode comes out.
Yes, I need that. I need to get that sound effect, actually. I'm gonna get Glenn to do like loads of intros to the channel, and then just be like, hit that button, hit that button, hit that button.
You have a timer set up to know that it's like, oh, it's time to mention it.
Yeah, the Glenn
Because
timer.
when you do it at the end, less people will actually do it.
It's true. Yeah, I messed up because I don't get that far.
Just edit.
Oh yeah, I could just put this in the beginning. I'll do the intro again.
Just fully cut.
Is there anything anyone wanted to share today that they feel they weren't able to get out at all? And if so, now is the time to talk about it. If not, we're going to go. We're going to have a shorter one today. I've actually got to go and get some hiking boots so I'm going to go do that. I'm going to get some boots. I'm also going to go to Target and buy some cheese. So that's my day.
It's a great night.
It is, yeah. Work on my advocacy project. And also, thank you for the gifted subs.
Oh, Pags.
Very, very kind of you. Thank you. That's very much appreciated. Yes. The stream and podcast still going Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you want to support, would massively appreciate sub donations. All the things go to the stream. They go to me, paying all the rents, all the things. I'm a student, twitch.tv/JebroUnity. Join us every week. It's also on anchor.fm/JebroUnity, as well as Spotify. You can look up the LightBringers podcast and you'll be able to find it straight away. You can also watch the videos on Spotify as well, which is very, very awesome. That feature came in about 6 months ago. You can watch it on your phone. You can look at our faces and actually witness all the actions there, because we were doing boss killing things. Okay. Rookery, tell us what you do, where you do it, and do you like an afternoon sandwich? And if you do, what is it?
Okay, hey everybody, I'm Rookery. You can find me at twitch.tv Rookery, so ROOKURI. You can also find me on YouTube at Rookery, and you can find me on Twitter at Rookery_ and Instagram just at Rookery. Do I like an afternoon sandwich? Yes. What kind? Lately, I've just been doing a lot of is it like peanut butter and honey? Don't know why.
Wait, peanut butter and what?
peanut butter and honey.
Sweet.
You can
Yeah,
put, like you
nice.
can slice
Yeah.
some banana
Very
and put it in there
sweet.
too if you want. I
Ooh,
know.
banana.
Yeah. True.
But I normally really like sandwiches that have like Italian like sausage, salami, anything like that on them. Slap a bunch of cheese on there, put some oil, put some herbs, and I'm there for it. That's usually my go-to.
Oil in your sandwiches.
Your face just took me on a journey. Now I'm hungry.
Ooh, my mouth is getting a little wet.
Oh God.
I'll talk sandwich to you more, crew. Fine, no idea. This is what
Ooh,
did it.
ooh, talk sandwich to me.
Podcast,
Was this
I did not agree to guest star in this type of
Yeah, I was not aware that this would be very unchristian.
So
Hey, you can be
Jehovah wouldn't be
Christian and
happy
interested
right
in
now.
sandwiches. I mean, it's fine.
Give me chorizo.
Okay, don't cheat. It's not your turn yet. Glenn, tell us what you do, where you do it, and thank you for joining us. Very late notice today. Very much.
Yes, oh my God,
appreciated.
thank you so much for having me. My name is Glenn Angel. I am a Dominican non-binary creator here. You can find me at Glenn Angel, also spelled Glenn Angel, GLENNANGEL on YouTube and on Twitch. And also you can find me on TikTok and Twitter at Hello Glenn Angel. I love MMOs, and I'm so happy that Rook wrangled me into this wonderful community, because it's been so great, so loving, so exciting, and like we're doing things. But yes, and my pronouns are he, they, she, in any order. And Jebro's currently eating, so that's why.
Sorry, no,
silence.
I was just listening.
bro,
I was,
oh my
What's your
God.
afternoon snack?
I was doing this weird thing. I sometimes do it. It's just fun. Sometimes I do it with clients. I just stop, and I'm just like, when we're just mugging around, I'll just stop, and they'll be like, "Are you there? Hello?"
You're
And I'll
mugging
just
your
be like,
clients,
"Eh."
bro? That sounds
Sometimes.
illegal.
They're just kids. They're just like flipping. They don't care. They just
Wow,
think
you're
it's
stealing
funny.
candy from a baby. Wow.
Yeah, this is pretty rough. You're mugging your clients, Jebro. Jebro goes,
Mugging,
yeah,
no,
they're
Mugging.
Oh no!
Wow,
It
you're
also-
robbing kids. Wow.
If when you counsel children, they just play like they try and do the funniest or most random practical jokes, and they bring apps and stuff, and it's just like it becomes a. Yeah, I've had some pretty hilarious things happen. And in games as well, they troll you sometimes. I'm just like, man, this is truly therapy right now.
It
I'm
doesn't
getting
help
to
that
see
as
what
soon
you're
as
like.
we were like, it doesn't help that as you were talking about like, are you there? My computer actually lagged, so I'm like, did I just lose all my connection?
Oh my god.
Sorry. Crave, tell us what you do, where you do it, and the sandwich. Oh no, wait.
I
Glenn, you
know.
didn't do the
Glenn didn't
sandwich.
answer.
I'm so sorry. So, yes, I love an afternoon sandwich, but really, I love anything that I can just put into an air fryer and then put cheese on it. So,
Can you put a sandwich in an air fryer?
Honestly,
sure,
You
try
can
it
put
up.
anything
crisp
in an
it.
air fryer.
the only limitation is your imagination.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm up with that on a pillow.
On a pillow. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Sorry.
I thought you said a fountain pen and a pillow, and I just didn't want to question it
Yeah.
because I know I misheard it. So,
Sometimes it's good to not question things when Griff's
I was
involved.
like, you know what?
This is so funny, Glenn.
It's one of those things where it's like I don't want to ask explanation.
You're
I'm just
like,
let
because
it
I know I
go.
misheard it. That tickled me so much. Anyway. Should I do my outro now?
Are you okay? You
No.
can. I mean, you can go anytime you want. It's up to you. Are you ready?
Okay, bye.
Do you want to do a little? Do you want to do a little
Okay.
countdown or anything? Or do you want me to
No,
do a countdown?
we're going to take two.
Okay. Take two. Snap.
Hi everyone, I'm Kroof. I am a Guild Wars 2 content creator over on YouTube and here on Twitch. I have a couple of Guild Wars 2 videos in production and on the Patreon early, and it is in regards to Guardian balance design and slash redesign. Overall thoughts. I know, really pulling that back from a few minutes ago. But I stream here on Twitch every day of the week, usually Guild Wars 2. Mondays we do Final Fantasy 14, and catch me everywhere on the internet. Thank you all so much for being here, and thanks for inviting me again. I appreciate it. And my sandwich, oh my god. You know what? I kind of vibe with a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah.
A little bit of tuna mashed up, mayo, some lemon juice, salt, pepper. Really season that. Put some mayo on the bread. Delicious. But also a nice staple is just peanut butter. But I wanted to feel a little bit different from Rook, so tuna fish.
Okay, Kroof, you are different. You're different and special in your own way.
Oh my god, thank you.
Uncrustables, you know.
That's what my nickname was in middle school.
Uncrustable?
Yeah.
That is such a weird name to have in school.
It's because I was super oily. I'm just kidding. I know it was gonna catch me being crusty up in middle school. Okay.
Where are you going with this today?
Okay.
What is
all right.
happening?
Okay.
I don't even know anymore. I really
Again, if you
enjoy
enjoyed
all
our
of you.
conversations, make sure that you like this video.
Yeah, make sure, because there's like so many hours of this.
And also
So many.
comment down on whatever platform you're listening to your favorite moment of Kroof or Brooks just tomfoolery.
And what sandwich do you eat?
Yeah,
Comment that down
yeah.
below.
Tell us, what sandwiches do you eat? They all will come back and look at the comments.
And how will that sandwich bring world peace?
There are sandwiches and foods that have brought peace to areas and nations. Personally, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you very much for gifting a sub as well, Angistar. Thank you very much. Legend. Pax as well. Thank you very much. Resub as well. I saw Jarpayan as well. Welcome, peeps. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to go and raid someone. But my favorite sandwich is a chicken sandwich. And the chicken is from Costco. Those rotisserie chickens. I got one last week. Oh my God. Do you know how I went to Costco for the first time ever? It was amazing. And it was a rotisserie chicken for $5. And then a sandwich, amazing, with mayonnaise and also maybe nothing else because I don't care. But I will get Costco into this stream somehow because it's an amazing place. I love it.
Today's stream definitely sponsored by Costco, but not sponsored by Costco.
No seasoning.
I'm gonna say that from now on. And the chicken was from Costco.
Yeah.
I went to this
I like
potluck
it.
and the chicken was from Costco.
Costco.
Yeah, but everyone will love
Welcome to
it.
the world. Yeah, welcome to the world of rotisserie chicken, Jebro, which I feel like
Costco
many of us
rotisserie chicken.
discovered at some point around college years or
I
in
did
years
as well,
that we.
but not Costco rotisserie
Okay, all right.
chicken.
Costco rotisserie chicken, the magical grail of rotisserie chicken. I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy that you went to Costco and that you got to eat a really delicious.
Yeah, I got loads of
chicken
toilet
sandwich.
paper as well. It was great.
Kirkland saving lives.
My favorite sub-based MMO is Costco.
Shop there today for no money off. We'll see you soon on the Lightbringers podcast. I am not sponsored by Costco.
Bye.
I
Thanks,
can't
Costco.
even say their name.
Costco.
Because I wouldn't be a very good sponsor because I can't even say their name properly, as you've gathered. I will try to bring you audio in the near future. There we go. Cool. I realized that I'm not actually on my other PC. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and to check out all of our amazing guests today. Please, please, please check them out in the description below. Their link to their main channel or whatever will be there. If you go to those ones, you can probably follow them in the other places. They do the things. They all stream. They do bits and bobs in different places, and some of them even do TikTok. Yes. We'll see you soon on the Lightbringers podcast, where we'll be back next week talking about episode 3 of season 1. See you soon, people. Goodbye for now. And go.